It's the 147th.
So you're going to give me a cue. You're going to start in a couple of minutes, like, or how are we doing there?
I'm just looking for Mr. Cash to be able to promote him. But other than that, I think we can give it the minute or so.
Okay.
Okay, Rick, I see Mr. Cash, so let's go, and then we can start right after.
Okay, sounds good, Vince.
Cash Foundation is extending an invitation to medical doctors of any practice and specialty to apply to the Foundation's private weekly medical teaching workshop. This includes medical doctors, dentists, and veterinarians. Scientists at the Cash Foundation developed different types of plasma therapies and cures that utilize advanced, non-invasive plasma technology. The weekly private medical teaching workshop educates doctors to the plasma science behind the therapies, along with the functionality and operation of revolutionary plasma medical devices. The goal of the private teachings is to add plasma health knowledge to the profound knowledge of medical doctors. The weekly class is broadcast live over the internet through a secure private channel every Wednesday from 2 to 5 p.m. Central European Time. Presently, the class is only offered in English. However, you are free to bring a translator to the class. If you can't participate in the live broadcast, you can watch them later at your convenience through a private internet portal. Every patient's case that is discussed in the workshop will be kept anonymous and private. This includes cataloged findings and data gained from the analysis of the patient's health issues. Any medical doctor in the world who wants to participate can do so by sending an email to doctors@spaceshipinstitute.org. In your email, please state your willingness to participate in the medical teaching workshop. If you're planning on bringing a translator to the workshop, please state this in your email as well. After we receive your email, we will contact you with the instructions on how to apply to the workshop. As a part of the application process, applicants who apply, including any translators brought into the workshop, will be required to sign the Keshe Foundation's World Peace Treaty, which can be found at the following web address. All applicants will be required to provide proof of their education and ability to practice medicine, and will also be required to pass an extensive security background check before they are granted access to the teaching workshop. Healthful plasma technology is here, now, the use of which is increasing exponentially on a day-to-day basis on every continent. We encourage you to come and learn about this revolutionary technology. Apply today. The Keshe Foundation is extending an invitation to experienced farmers, agricultural specialists, and researchers to apply to the Foundation's private weekly agriculture teaching workshops. If you fall into one of these categories and are interested in plasma technology integration into agriculture, you're invited to apply. Scientists and agricultural practitioners of the Keshe Foundation continually develop and apply new methods of food and fiber production, soil fertility management, plant and livestock health management, and increased farm productivity using the most advanced plasma technology that is taught at the Keshe Foundation Spaceship Institute. In the teaching workshop, you'll learn the science of plasma technology and its applications in the field of agriculture for enhanced and equitable global food production while minimizing costs and external inputs. Practicing farmers and Keshe Foundation scientists will demonstrate their application of plasma technology in agriculture and the ensuing results of such applications, thus deepening and enriching learning for all participants in the private teachings. Participants are encouraged to demonstrate their farming practices in the teaching workshop. The private teachings are broadcast in English live over the internet through a secure private channel every Wednesday at 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. Central European Time. If necessary, you may bring a translator to the workshop. All applications are required to provide proof of their education and professional qualifications, must pass a security background check, and are required to sign the Keshe Foundation's World Peace Treaty, which can be found at the following web address. Translators that attend must also pass a security check and sign the World Peace Treaty. For details on how to join the private teachings in agriculture, send an email to agriculture@kfssi.org stating that you'd like to participate. Include in the email your education and agricultural experience and reasons for your interest in plasma technology. Applicants will be contacted with further instructions and details on the application process. Are you ready for a cost-effective, successfully proven innovation in pain relief? You need wait no longer. Introducing the Keshe Pain Pad. Using plasma technology, which is based on magnetic gravitational field interaction, the Keshe Pain Pad emits plasma fields that penetrate up to 3 centimeters below the skin, helping to bring the body back to balance. The Keshe Pain Pad offers a natural way to relieve acute and chronic pain for both young and old. All you have to do is apply the pad on affected areas for 1 or 2 hours once or twice a day. It's made with adaptive elastics that can form organically and comfortably to the contours of your body. It has no moving parts or batteries. It's lightweight, durable, easy to wear, and easy to remove. The Keshe Pain Pad successfully reduces muscular pain, tendinitis, wrist pain, carpal tunnel syndrome, back pain, pain from sprains and strains, and knee pain, just to name a few. For a full list of relievable pains, consult the owner's manual or go to our website at www.keshefoundation.org. The Keshe Pain Pad, a cost-effective, successfully proven, natural way to relieve your pain.
Welcome everyone, excuse me, to the 147th Knowledge Seekers Workshop of the Keshe Foundation Spaceship Institute. We're here once again with Mr. Keshe of the Keshe Foundation, and he'll be delivering today's information and knowledge on the plasma teaching. And we'll have various other knowledge seekers from around the world participating as well as things develop. And as you can see, we have a couple of new videos and as well as a new public teaching for gardeners and growers that is shown on the screen there now. So I think Mr. Keshe is ready in the background. I'm hoping that's true. Mr. Keshe, are you available?
Yes, can you hear me?
Seems a little weak, but let's get the audio dialed in. I'm not sure if it's on my system or how is it for others. Could you try it a bit there? Are you on the correct microphone? It seems kind of far away.
Yes. Okay. Now I'm away. It's not connected.
Ah.
Okay. Let's get it connected. Can you hear me yet now?
Not yet. Try again. Maybe you have to select it in your.
Yeah, is it okay now?
Way better, yes. Thank
Way
you.
better. Okay,
Yes.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Good morning to you as usual, whenever you listen to these teachings. As part of the development of the technology, we try to explain more and try to go more in depth. And we try today to explain some more technology and knowledge behind in depth of what the science stands for and what it is. We are targeting in one direction, and that is to try to achieve lift and motion. What we've done is that we have accelerated the work with the innovation team, and the same information, I think, is due to be given to the others that they can develop the technology. The reality with the space technology is understanding it and applying it in different ways and different form and shape. We try to do some teaching and then we come back to announcements of whatever it is, what needs to be done. This public teaching for gardeners and growers in English is set up by people who are part of the agricultural team. They participate, and we've seen work with them before with the growing of the lettuce and other things. Is Jim online that he would like to explain what this is about and how he wants to put it across, please?
Mr. Keshe, it's Lisa here.
Hi, good morning, Your Excellency. How are you?
I'm very well, thank you. Yes, we're going to start on Sunday, and hopefully we can help all the people that at this stage are not involved in the private agricultural teachings. And so we hope to allow the general public to gain some knowledge on how to use the plasma with their growing and to help their environment around them.
What is the program? How are you planning out to do it?
Okay, each session is going to involve sort of 3 basic steps. We're going to do a bit of basic teaching, and then we will go on to some of our experiments and what we found. And then the last part of the teaching will be, a feedback and input from other people around the world and what they're doing and how to help them to work with what we show. So each week we will do that, and we do have a basic syllabus that we've already decided on in terms of just each week a basic teaching on the vertical people, how the plasma interacts with the environment, how the vertical people use the plasma, and the general environmental plasmas and how we can use them to benefit the whole environment. If you would like a bit of an outline, I'm going to hand you over to Jimmy because he's given me something here in his handwriting and I can't read it. So
Yeah.
just hold on 1 second.
Let me, while you're handing the paper, explain to those who are not familiar what is a vertical people. In plasma technology, we consider plants as a living, existing things which they work through the operation of the what material exists on this planet. Instead of walking like the horizontal people, we call like animals, they move vertically, and that's why we call them vertical people, because they are actually living entity. They have emotion, they have feeling, they feed the same as we do into the plasma of the planet. And so if you heard about the vertical people, it doesn't mean people who are standing up, it means vegetation. That's what we consider them. Thank you very much. Go ahead, Jimmy, please.
Hello, Mr. Kesh. What we'll be doing over the course of the next couple of months is we'll just give a very basic overview and on how this plasma technology applies to agriculture and how people can start using it in their gardens, you know, whether it's for their roses or their little veggie patch. It's just to encourage people to sort of play with it in their gardens and in nature. And it's a way for people to get back in touch with nature. Then we'll start looking and doing a little bit on the seeds and how the rays, the magnetical rays coming to Earth interact and how these interact with the plants. We'll focus on the amino acids for the plants, how that works. We'll go into sort of the soil biology, photosynthesis. So these are sort of all the topics that we'll be covering over the next couple of months.
Can I ask you to introduce yourself, what you do, that then people understand your involvement with agriculture, please, for those who don't know you?
We've started probably more than just over a year ago, following your teachings, and we do run a couple of years. We run an aquaponics farm where we grow lettuce and microgreen, microradish. So we've been using your technology and doing various experiments with that, and trying to understand how all the plants work, really work with the new technology. So that's sort of been our background in agriculture over the last couple of years.
Before that, how long have you been in agriculture?
About 5 years.
Okay.
In agriculture.
So you will start teaching what you see the technology can be used
Yes.
in that sense.
Yes, you know, and it's a way for, we feel it's very important for people to start using their technology in their gardens and in their environment. You know, even if they live on, you know, in the city, they can have their balcony and they can have their pot plants. And it's a way to introduce people to the technology through using it on their plants and understanding how the plants really work and interacting with the plants.
Thank you very much. Is there anything else you want to add about the teachings?
No, that's it for now. Thanks.
Thank you very much indeed. You start on Saturday 27 at 7 p.m. Sydney, Australia time.
Yes, on the Sunday, yes.
Every second and every fourth Sunday of the month.
Yes.
Thank you very much indeed. The Zoom number is there. You can join in. The Zoom will be on the list of the Keshe Foundation Zoom teachings, public teachings, if you want to pick it up. Thank you very much indeed. Thanks, John.
Thanks for the opportunity.
Thank you very much. Thanks for teaching us. I enjoy listening to your teachings on the private teachings with agriculture. We have already implemented, or we are in the process of implementing, part of the finding from the teaching and the research of Jim, where we looked at the lifespan of the vegetation in GAN's environment, and very soon should be able to deliver what we call refrigeration units that you can put in the fridge and extends the life of food by quite considerable, maybe a few more days than usual. These things will be explained in the teaching by Jim, and you will learn a lot more. It's a huge amount of knowledge coming in. There are a large number of people who do agriculture, and if you want, you can join in this. And this is for the open public, so those who wanted to be in the private teaching as farmers, now you can join in the public teachings of the agriculture. Thank you very much, Jim. Is there anything else, or are there any questions?
I presume you mean about the about this gardening part of
or anything else, or anything else? Are there any
Well,
questions? Anything new you want to show?
Mr. Kesh,
Yes.
I've got some updated photographs of those micro radish.
Yes, please.
I can show that.
Okay, I'll stop my share, and you should be able to share your pictures.
All right, thank you.
And it's best not to show your desktop and just show the pictures, okay?
Can you give us a background to this for those who are not aware of this?
All right. The basis of the experiment was I took 2 batches of our radish seeds. These are daikon radish. And the one batch I soaked in plain water, and the other batch I had soaked in CO2 GANS water. And
is that after cutting or before cutting?
That's before cutting. I was soaking the seeds.
Ah, okay.
And the whole idea was to see whether there would be a comparison between the seed soaked in the water and the seed soaked in the plasma. So these were planted side by side. They grew together, and then we harvested them on the same day. Generally, when we cut them, they last about 12 days. Our shelf life that we give for the product is 7 days. And the last showing that we had given was on day 41. We had shown pictures of how the radish was still looking very good after 41 days in the fridge. And so I've got a few more updated photographs on how further they have lasted in the fridge. There was day 47. You can see photographs on the one on the left was the day 1, and photograph on the right is day 47. And then the
Are
200.
they still edible at that stage?
At this stage, you could get away with them. I think I said the last time, if you put it in a sandwich, you could probably eat it and it'll be fine, because they didn't smell. There was no smell from them. So, and when you felt them, they were still fine. So, you could possibly have eaten them at this stage. There was on day 78, we'd start noticing some of the yellowing of the leaves, but they were still retained their shape. We had lost, I think, only 3 grams of weight at this stage from our first day. This was day 134. That had basically gone completely yellow with touches of green there, but still, say, retained their shape. On the next photo, you'll see when we took from the side, they hadn't squashed down on each other yet, or started turning to water, into a puddle at the bottom. So at this stage, they were still looking very good, just only the color had changed. And then I took some photos the other day, and this is 180 days that they've been in the fridge. At this stage, they had started degrading. You can see the yellow had come through. You still see a little bit bits of green on some of them. And then in the next photo, from a side point of view, you can see how they had started sinking down to the bottom of the punnet. But now when we had opened them as well, there was also no smell. It was just a sort of a vegetation smell, but nothing that was rotting or any funny smells that were coming off it. So this was the other day. So that was nearly 6 months in the fridge. So it's quite incredible.
One of the things which we have to explain between the two is that the one which is with the water, even though has been in the water, from the time of cut has been next to the one which has CO2 on it. So in a real condition, the one with the water should be totally gone and smudged up and totally wasted after 20-30 days, most probably. But because we are not dealing with the matter state condition that is inside the box, the vegetation which are we've gone through the CO2, they create a plasmatic field. So because the two boxes have been next to each other for past 6 months, the field from the one which has the CO2 has affected the other one as which was water only. And this is what we said next time in the next experiment, we keep them in two different parts, cut at the same time with the water and what do you call the one which had the CO2 and without the CO2. This is very important. This is one of the most important things which we realize more and more. And that is do not, just because you think you put CO2 on something, it's only that entity which is touched by it. No, it expands the field beyond the container. The other point which was mentioned by Jim, that after 180 days you don't smell. This is because CO2 is, because of the structural plasmatic condition, it falls into odor absorbance because of the O2. The oxygen is gravitational. Carbon is plasmatic strength. And if you remember in the present day, if you have a smelly fridge, you put a piece of charcoal in it and absorbs the smell. But you do this now in a plasmatic condition. So the vegetation does not smell because of the CO2 structure in it. You can make everything odorless when you apply CO2. It's understanding the process which you created the plasma. That's why Jim says still it's just smell of vegetation but not rot, because in a way the carbon is absorbing all the smell in its plasmatic structure as a part when it becomes near the matter state strength. So these things needs to be understood. In the coming weeks, we'll be marketing sprays which are for odor sprays to absorb odor. Instead of using chemicals, you just spray and the smell instantaneously disappears. And the body holds up to 6 hours. You can use it as a deodorant. It's been used, we've seen it, and it works. But in the reason you hear that there is no smell on it, because you have a carbon element in the plasma gas, which in a way deters or absorbs the fields of the odor. Odor is a what we call diamond structure of a gas. When the gas becomes in diamond structure, it becomes odor. And so, because we are in a plasmatic condition with the CO2, the link to the what we call the crystal structure as a gas It very easily links up to the plasma of the CO2 as a carbon end, and the what we call the presence of the oxygen, which is part of the amino acid of the vegetation, creates that link to be held. So most probably this will rot totally, but you will not smell anything. We are using this technology in a commercial way extensively in the coming weeks. You can use what we see now, the test will release in the coming, will release scientific papers, or what they call it, data on this as usual. You can wash food like meat in the plasma GANs CO2, and when we take the water from it and we get it tested in the lab, we find most of the germs are not there anymore. You can use it in conjunction with the CUO for, in a way, disinfecting and holding meat. We are running tests on this. I'll explain this in the coming time. Don't forget, I explained this in teachings before and in some of the private teachings. When you create a GANs, you hold a state of matter. And that state of matter, because of the creation of the GANs, and because you create the GANs in an atmospheric condition, in respect to the amino acid, can hold on to protein. I did a test, I explained this in private teachings, as I was explaining before, a test in Tehran about 8 years ago. We took a full a spinal cord of a lamb. We processed it through simple caustic, and when we added, in a very simple way, we left it open in more or less the heat of summer on top of the fridge. The full spine, the spinal cord, didn't deteriorate. It was there for weeks. It did not rot, and it stayed intact. It didn't mush up. We've seen this with literally what we call biological materials too. In a way, biology means living entity. It's a Latin name coming from it, but we see it stays. The life is there. It doesn't change. So what we see ganses in as a preservative. We see ganses as a condition of absorbing odor in a combination with a protein too. We are running tests. This is important in places where, for example, you run out of electricity, you have a disaster, everything can rot. You can just put gas of CO2 around it and see how long you can hold it. You extend the life. At the same time, you do not destroy the bacteria, but you reduce them drastically. The culture plates I've seen, it shows this very, very clearly. There is a need, whenever you come to the generation of what we call the amino acid-based entities like vegetation and meat, you need to consider production of nitrogen. This will allow a lot of new flexibility in those who do run these tests. And you'll find out, if you do not cover the container and leave it open, you will have most probably totally different effect. The closure of the container and the opening of the container will give you different results. When you produce and use ganses, most probably, if you leave the entity open, because of the condition of the plasmatic, not the material, the entity will absorb energy from the environment, and that's why it doesn't rot. That's why it doesn't get destroyed. When you cover it, you do some limitation on it. Then that process is different. We've seen this when we've seen with the amputation of the toe and the growth of the toe. These are little things that applies both in the what I call vertical or the horizontal people. This, would it be easier that not just adding a CO2 to the vegetation or to the seed before, but adding the what we call the emotional aspects of the plants to the water too? Would they stay happier? Would they produce more? So this is a part of the agricultural test and what I call animal tests we have to do. So in so many ways, these little tests, if you just look at them and passively, they just show you some colors on how they existed. But it's time to go deeper into the science of understanding why, what is behind it. The reason is lasting so long. The reason that there is no order. The reason that we have we can extend the life by changing the environment, or do we reduce the life by changing the environment? We see wherever we use GANS materials or liquid plasma of the GANS materials, the life extension and the growth is different when it's in a covered environment or is in an open environment. We see restriction in growth now with what we call greenhouses. There is a real straight, clear indication now that wherever you do use CO2 or whatever gases as a feeding line or change of environment, there is a hindrance when you have greenhouses. Because do we need to pay millions of dollars to build greenhouses and the lighting? Where in a way, when you create the atmospheric condition around the plant with the GANs, you don't need to put the lights on at night or during the day. The plant takes what it needs, nutrition from its environment 24 hours a day. It never sleeps. If you've been to places like Holland, which is heavily involved in the greenhouse development, when you drive across different parts of Holland at night, you see suddenly different green lights come on because they are literally tuning the growth of the plants. And then they go out, they come on, and if you've been in like tomato serras, what they call greenhouses, they start burning gases, not to heat up the what you call the greenhouse, but to put the exhaust of CO2 in it, that the plants can grow better at night, or the absorption of the creation of oxygen for them. This introduction of GANs gets away with this. The huge investment in greenhouses, what we see now, has become obsolete. Those of you who are in agriculture in Holland and in Northern Europe or anywhere in the world, you'll find out with having a greenhouse, you limit the amount of the food which your plant you're trying to grow. Because now with creating the CO2, you extend the tent of the food or the greenhouse beyond the boundaries of the greenhouse. But now the glass stops that transaction through. Brings limitation. Not all of it, but puts a limitation what's going through. So we see a change of direction in agriculture. We see a change of direction in preservation of food. We see a change of direction in the amount of food which we need to grow. We are looking at in research in Tokyo University now in the food elements which create toxicity or create a condition for cancer. In a way, we are looking at immunization through the same process. We are looking into the reality of like, can we grow vegetation or meat which creates a condition that there's no possibility of creation of cancer in the body of the man, because you take from that whatever what you need, what energy you need. We are looking now and we're testing it. It looks to be positive. We explain this later on. There is a huge problem if you live in the third world nations with food like egg salmonella. How do you protect yourself from it? Caroline has found a very easy solution. Just spray some CO2, or just this is all plasmatic, not the CO2 gas. As you know, we're talking about plasma, just the water of CO2 and CuO on the egg while you're cooking it, or you want to bake it. You kill salmonella, because this is with tests we have from research laboratories certified. So now we are applying it. It's not that we don't know. Now we are applying it, and we see other people who we talk to have started doing it. This way you stop all the diseases, all the salmonella infections and everything else. Just a few spray, just a few drops of CO2 in the food, you make sure there is no contamination. It's the same. That's why we don't see fungus. If you notice on the pictures we've seen with Jim just now, we know immediately how funguses grow on vegetation after a few days. We don't see any fungus, which means the environment is sterilized. It's totally sterile. These are the things which we need to do. This is why, as I said now, we work with scientists, specialists, to start looking into these things and now expanding the knowledge. This is where the change comes. This is where we'll make the difference. This is where you can buy a piece of meat which you don't have a fridge, and you know it might have after 2 or 3 days worms in the warm environment. You can soak it in a CO2 or a copper oxide, zinc oxide, and you extend the life by a few more days. Because it's not just you disinfect, but you create an environment around the meat that even in the point of being separated from the part of the life, and it's part of what is on the plate, be the chicken, leg, be the whatever, now you have created the same greenhouse effect around it. It's protecting it. It's got its own shielding. This is what it is when we fly. Earth has its own gravitational magnetic field because of its plasmatic condition. Now you protect materials. We have started using CO2 as a disinfectant. We start using CO2 as a burn system. You have a burn, just spray a few drops of immediately CO2 on it. Gone within few seconds, you don't feel the pain. We run trials now in the hospitals in the coming days. The technology is beyond doubt perfect. It works, and it works within the structure. We don't kill germs. We don't create an environment for them to exist. It's the condition of our work. We are a peaceful scientist. We are worldwide, all of us. But we have to understand the science. Why does it do this? Because we know, because of the condition of the copper or a carbon, carbon links out to the odor gas. Copper links out to the line of what we call neurosystem of meat, red meat, or protein, which has become what we call meat. Then there is no linkage for the meat to link up with something else we call microbes or the others, because it's already has been protected, it's already linked up. Plasma technology for man use is perfection to its absolute. We challenge all the governments, we challenge all the health authorities, we challenge all the environmentalists to come in and test. We don't fight it, we invite them in. We have a situation in different places, we're trying to understand how. We see now, in the coming days, we will report in the coming next few, maybe 2 or 3 weeks, where in the hospitals we'll use it as a spray for, you don't have antibiotics in third world nations, it costs a lot. You spray CO2 with CO2 on it, you stop the infection. Because you create an environment that you don't kill. It's because CO is in a gas state and CuO is in a gas state, they link up. They create a linkage that there is no room for protein, what we call as a microbes or viruses to ever to link up. We create a shielding effect. It's a defense technology. But we are defending what is there for it to be. But does it extend the life? Yes, because now you create a condition that meat, the bead, whatever, on the table is not dead, is not without life, it's still there because it's still got the structure, it still holds to itself. So it's still absorbing energy to hold on to. That's why holding on to what it is and getting what energy gets from environment, it invites others who like to give to him that he can give that extends life. You call it microbes or germs. This way, we provide that energy with the GANS material. And then there is no room for it to extend. Scientifically, we can explain it. It's no magic. Understand, you're dealing with a plasma. The two cups next to each other, one water, one with the CO2, but they're decaying the same as each other. But he's a farmer, he's grown it for 1 or 2 years or 5 years, and he knows after 15 days it rots, it becomes mushy, and they throw it away. But the one near to it is still following the same. So the experiment is effect one on the material and one on the environment of the material next to it. We have to understand the knowledge, and we have to be able to deliver it in the understanding way. In people who don't understand it, we mass produce it for them to be able to use it. One day somebody down the line in that family will understand. We have a situation in Ghana Keshe Foundation. We set up the factory and we ask for scientists to join us to work as production, and they learn. Now we received double the amount of people we want. We said, no problem. Those your old scientists go out and teach. We teach you and you teach the country. You can work 1 week in the factory, the other team goes outside and teaches. So we work. Now we have the top nuclear physicists in their masters and PhDs of a nation producing and learning and going out and teaching. This is what you got to do. So they come and work maybe 1 week in the factory, and 1 week the schools they teach, they go to what you call the villages or whatever, and they show them. We still run a factory, but our target is to teach. This is what the Keshe Foundation has to become. We have gone up meteorically. Those are who want to damage, they do whatever, just ignore them. By the time they plan how to destroy something we built, we have built another palace for humanity. So learn why. Why it's this? How can I, a farmer is in the past, what did we do? Why what we do now with the new knowledge is something wrong with it? Because we block them from abuse, setting things which don't work and making things that work. What did our ancestors do? We salted the meat. That's what we had. We smoked the meat to extend the life that in the winter time we could have. We dried the meat for us to have something in the time. Now we go to the next level of knowledge. Now we found a new preservative. Natural. We call it GANS. Because now it works with the totality of the environment. Does the meat, even when it's in pieces and is washed or covered around the GANS, finds the balances it couldn't find in the body as its totality when it was as part of the animal? This is where the research has to come. This is where we have to understand more and more. But this is where we got to expand the knowledge. Ignore about all the negativity, because those who are negative, they have to say they never made a single GANS in their life. This is the way they have to confirm their existence. They are parasites of their life, doesn't matter where you put them. Look and work positive and understand the technology. Understand what it can do, and don't be afraid of what happens if I do this. What happens if you do this? You bring us a new knowledge. Come back and share it. A lot of people who came and shared knowledge, they received threats from what I call terrorists of internet. They're paid by certain people in countries to do the job. But we passed that point. You will see them dying in their own cancer, and they all beg for life from the plasma technology. Unless they have to stand their ground of stupidity. Go in and learn. And I was teaching yesterday. I was telling these scientists, very simple thing. None of you is wrong. It's the school of thought you bring enlightens the man's knowledge, because that comes from you. When you go down the street, one street lamp doesn't light up the whole street. A number of lights, one after another, gives a clear passage. And we are all little lights on the street. We light up in what we understand in that path. In plasma technology, nobody is wrong. You understood it. Explain it. Show it. This is what it has to be. As I say in all the teachings, you look into the sky and you see how many billions of stars you see. And plus the environments which are not stars but still are fields passing through it. Each star is created out of a specific condition, and not two are the same. And it shows the knowledge of man. Each one of us is 7 billion of us. If you think of 10 new ways of interaction, becomes 70 billion. This is not even the number of stars in one of the smallest galaxies. So imagine how many more stars are in that galaxy which we haven't found a way to use the energy and the fields of the universe for that body can bring us. So when we see presentation like this, scientists, people who have spent their life in bringing to us, look beyond what you see and see what has created, what is the plasma, the role of plasma, good or bad in it. Bad in a way that it would not fit the environment, good in a way what is added to what you need. It could be bad for somebody else. You see, he's a farmer. He brings us a radish. He showed us that it's got life. But now, as a customer, if I buy the radish and it stays in my fridge for 3 weeks instead of 2 days, I don't need to buy more. But on the other hand, the knowledge of man to become independent has increased. It'll be very interesting that if we take the gas plasma of environment of the same cup, can we replicate the same vegetation, energy, feeling, and be replicating it anywhere in the universe? This is what the new technology has to be. We have no choice. We are the frontiers, and this field is so open that it'll never be conquered. Because the knowledge of Creator is beyond understanding of the man in totality. So look at these boxes. Look at when you grow vegetation, when you put a potato in the ground, when you soaked it in the CO2, or you didn't soak it in the CO2, but you watered with CO2. Look what you've done. It's very important. This is what I was explaining to agriculturists recently. Can I share a screen, please? We come back to this.
Sure, go ahead, Mr. Kesh.
Look what you do in agriculture. And how you can expand the knowledge. There is a big difference. If you soak a potato and you put the ganser in the water and you grow it, This is the ground. Now the field are expanding in the ground and into the other potatoes. So now this potato with the next potato has created a field, because there's another one. We grow potatoes in line. So now you created this field. But now if you come and put GANS water on top as well, you have created a shield different way. The potato receives different kind of energy than when it was on its own, it was just soaked. The potato has the ability now to link to above soil, because now there is 2 layers of it. The stronger, weaker, or stronger. You create a flow with the upper environment. Is the potato which is not or has not been soaked with GANS water behaves differently in another field and grows totally different? Would the change in the environment of the GANS between the two, the above the soil and below the soil, creates a flow? Do we need to add to the knowledge and understand something which we all know? What about if we use for the ground base a very simple GANS of CO2, but above it on the ground level we put CH3 or CO2? What difference would it make to this? Because now the soil is literally irrelevant. Because you transfer the plasmatic energy. This is how we have to extend the knowledge. As I said, the teaching is done. Is application and implication of it which changes the condition and what we need. If you understood this simple principle, just this one, if you look at this environment on its own, what happens in the drought condition? Doesn't matter what the soil carries. The environment and the moisture of environment will feed the plant, will feed the seed. That's why we see when you use GANS materials, the water absorption of need for the water reduces by 50% or 80%, because now you have made the link with the outside environment to the seed. But because we are very much physically orientated, we don't put anything on it, we think there is nothing happening. We've seen the 2 cups next to each other. Both 100 and odd days, exactly the same. And we see on the picture, water, GANS. But very simple, all of you know, GANS is plasmatic. So that, the one without the water, is actually receiving most probably more than the one in the water. As you see in some of the pictures, looks much healthier than the one with the GANS, because it's taking the energy totally. Extend the knowledge. Understand the implication, understand the application. Just don't do, I put a GANS on it, this is what happened. Always, the minute you put a GANS, look what the environment you have created plasmatically. Do you want to take from it? Do you want to give to it? Do you want to stabilize it? Now you understand your potato with a GANS on it is already got its own, literally the totality, its own greenhouse. It's you by putting different GANS on top of the soil, which dictates the gradient difference between the two and the flow of the field. If you become expert in it, understand it more, you can put with the ganses of, let's say, calcium, which, let's say, cauliflower needs. And then whatever is the calcium in the environment is fed directly. You have a different cauliflower. Maybe in the texture, maybe in the speed of growth. There is something to go further in the knowledge. If you've been with us, you understand it. The creation of the sun and the earth and the magnetic gravitational field flow between them does not, in interaction, only gives the atmosphere of this planet to us, but in the same process, part of the elements coming from the sun's radiation, which are in balance in gravitational magnetic field, the strength of the planet, will land on the planet, get attracted to it, and they convert into the matter state. So you don't need to put, as you think, just a calcium gas doing it. But in creating a calcium gas above the plant, you extract what is in the environment, which is at the strength which the potato needs as a calcium or the cauliflower. Extend the knowledge a step further. Open your eyes to the horizon of knowledge, and then it becomes very easy. Understand the totality of it, not just focusing on, I put the gas on the potato. What does that do? How does it absorb? Does it affect the next potato? Does it affect 2 fields down the road if I feed all my plants with CO2? It's not the boundary anymore. You find out your neighbors have a better harvest, and they say, oh, it was a good year this year, but they don't know you already created the environment for them. Maybe it's a bad year for them because you created the environment that the plants they grow does not need that. So he has to use the gas for his plant. We don't know this. We have to extend the knowledge. It's part of the evolution. Evolution for man and part of the evolution of our understanding of the knowledge of the technology. So when you attend agriculture teachings or you attend medical teaching, don't look up at the Gansen, what happens. This happened there. But it goes beyond. The information which is coming from research in medical side from the universities to us is mind-boggling. We don't even know how to put it in public. The implication of it is beyond present understanding of the world of medicine. Because it cannot be, but it is, because now it works in plasma. Well, for example, what we see in our cancer research, where the GANS material of a specific condition has been introduced into the cancer cell, we see the concentration of the GANS on cancer cell. When the additional part, which is the cancer part of the cell, the energy, whatever created, is destroyed or opened up, then all the CO2s or copper oxide or zinc oxide, they move in total to the next cancer cell. They don't go to another cell, they don't go to hemoglobin, they don't go to any other tissue. The cell disintegrates, the cancer cell, and now they move all together to the next cell. This is very strange. We've never seen this in the world. This is followed on the observation with the latest systems available in universities. We see migration from cell to cell, cancer cell to cancer cell. They don't go to another cell. This is a puzzling thing for the scientists. We are following their path in the body. Why did they do this? Now, have we managed to create a condition that we can create immunization for cancer? At the moment, our discussion with the scientists is yes, because this is the pattern of it. Because now, if you look, only the cancer cell was the cancer part of the infected cell, or the cancer cell itself was opened up. But in that process, you have to look beyond it. It's not just the gas. that gas has carried a field, which that field can adjust, interact, correct the RNA and DNA. It's a field interaction. This changes the game. Why then they don't go to every other cell? They know these cells are cancer cells. We haven't injected only into the cancer cell. It's been injected into the bloodstream of the animal. And we see they go cell by cell. The observation is amazing. What we see opens up totally new. The doctors, the scientists couldn't understand. I was explaining to them, this is what's happening. Why do they go to another one? Has it become straight away part of, because it's plasmatic, part of DNA, that this does not fit? It needs a change. So the cell starts moving on. We release these are all scientific university research papers. We release it to you, and you as scientists and individuals interested, take it further. So understand the totality of environment. Why do we see people who use with cancer certain path of what you call like injection? We've seen with the mouse, they stay exactly the same. They even become happier. They're more active. Because now what we see, what was opened up as a cancer, which is not a cancer anymore, now is an energy which is available, because that cancer cell was made out of protein, it was made out of energy, plasmatic energy in the cancer state. Now that it's changed its characteristics to its whatever change of environment, now is food to the body. Up to now we died, I've said many times, man dies. No one has died of cancer. We die of the lack of energy because the cancer takes all of it to grow. Now that we are opening the cancer, the energy is coming back to man. The energy was killing him, now it's become food to him. The game of the science of biology, chemistry has changed. It doesn't mean that it's wrong, it's parallel. That the chemistry up to now we know is a matter state chemistry. Now we have to understand plasmatic chemistry, but not as chemistry, but the interaction of the fields which gives the effect in matter state as a chemist or biology. Nobody is wrong that, so everything we done is wrong. No, you explained in the previous teachings. Now we have to learn two states of the plasmatic field existence. One as a fixed, which what we call the matter state. One which is dynamic, which is a plasmatic state of the same. This is what we have to go. We have to go deeper. We have to understand more. In now what we're considering in the research in the health section, in the cancer section, is very interesting. And that is very simple. We know, if you go back to the teachings, we have three types of cancer. What we call cancer through the evolution. We have a cancer due to accident, physicality, and we have cancer through emotion. When we see cancers, now we have to see from the blood test. Those of you who are medical doctors, you understand this very fully. You look at the markers, you look at the blood test. You look at what is elevated. Is it zinc elevated? But on its own, is it copper elevated on its own? This gives an indication of accidental. You pinch something, you hit something, later on, because of that hit, concentration of the energy has created a point, absorbing energy from the rest has become the beginning of cancer. You come to evolution. Evolution cancer has a very, this is mainly metals, materials, or can be what we call like calcium. But the evolutionary cancer works totally different. Evolutionary cancer, it means the change of the environment. So it has to be connected when you look at the blood test, is connected to the salts. If you see magnesium elevation, you see salt elevation in sodium, you see elevation in sulfur, you see elevation in phosphor. The salts are the backbone of the body of the man. This shows you're dealing with evolution. These evolutionary cancers using salt are very difficult to change because it's taken process of life 2, 3, 10 generations. The environment changed for your grandfather, so body start changing. Your mother changed a little bit. Now you're going through the process, but now you have a father from a different string line. This part cannot match, so you show a cancer because it's absorbing energy. Evolutionary cancers are very hard because you have to go down the gene line, but you still can change it. The accidental damages, what we call cancers, which comes from operation, from accidents or whatever, these you can still interact, because all you need to do, you interact with the matter. You see it in the blood test. Zinc is elevated and nothing else. There is no elevation in sodium. So immediately you understand this is accidental. When you come to emotional, it's very simple. One of the elevations you see is zinc. Doesn't matter, you see copper or aluminum or whatever else, your iron. You see in the total elevation, zinc elevation, it means it's emotional. And then if it is connected to any of the salts elevation, like magnesium, then you understand it has been embedded from the past, or you pass it on in the future. You have made that cancer as part of the evolution cancer. So mother gives to the daughter. She has passed the emotion of the hate of the man to the daughter. The right breast has a cancer. The daughter will have a cancer in the right breast too. This is what we have to understand, what the new technology brings us. Understanding more in depth the whole knowledge of the science of the creation. What do we do with this information? How do we evaluate it? We get a patient with a cancer, we give them what they like, but they still find another place to create cancer. Because their emotion tells you from the zinc level, even when you look at the zinc levels, the extent of the zinc level on the chart will tell you how much emotion is there. If you are past the maximum level of the plasmatic gans of zinc, if it's here and you're above it, you're dealing with, I want to die. This is very simple. I refuse cancer cells, cancer cases, because I see, and they tell me, how do you know? Why do you refuse me and not the other? Because I see, sir, you have a very high elevation of zinc, you have a very high elevation of cesium, cobalt. I see very high elevation of chlor. I know you plan to kill yourself in emotion. I'm not interfering, you're wasting my time and yours. You pretend that I'm here to be saved. It's for you, not for me. The evidence in the table and the paper in front of me says different story. If I try to elevate the emotion, I put more fire, fuel to the fire. That document in front of me, your blood test, tells me a different story. If it's accidental, I come in, it's very easy, you can interfere. If it is evolutionary, I find out how to change the environment of it. I was teaching to Benjamin recently that a lot of you have all gone and you made GANs with NaCl. Table salt. Benjamin has gone a step further. He's taken magnesium salt. And he says to me, I'm still creating CO2. It's still white. I said, yes. You still have the nano copper coated, you still have the zinc plate, you still, the environment created is that of the carbon in the water with the salt. But now, because you use the different salt, the protein on the top is different. And the carbon is of a different strength. And now you can have or help the ones which have problems in different directions, which CO2 wasn't so successful. Now we understand the use of salt, adds different salts, adds more to our arsenal of creating a better environment, more matching. Now, up to now, we had one salt. We only use sodium. Now we use sodium and magnesium. Look at the other salts. Get their GANs and then from it make a cocktail. Then you see what you can change with the evolution if your plan is to be. But we need the evolutionary change, because otherwise we won't be surviving in 3-4 generations down the road, because the atmosphere has changed, the environment has changed. Evolutionary cancers are very touchy things if you play with it the wrong way. Or you can bring it to be balanced but without the cancer. You got to understand the depth of the knowledge. And a beautiful woman in the kitchen and a professor in the lab with this game have the same level of understanding. You're all professors and you're all kitchen mates, because in the kitchen you can learn a lot from the reality of the GANs, the way the potato is done. If I do, what happens to it? Then the guy in the lab that he has to get the mouse and play with other things. Now the knowledge is equal across. Try to understand what and where and how the game is played. Not what you've been told and say something wrong. The first thing they show us a paper. Give us formulas, otherwise there is something wrong with you. Talking to Benjamin, he says, you know, the German system of teaching is the best. I said, I know, but nobody promotes it. That's why we get geniuses in Germany. He says, you know, in Germany, when I was going into university and studying, they come and they tell you this is a capacitor. They don't give you a formula. They say, when you put a plate, this plate, that plate, it creates a capacitance, it's a capacitor. And then you say, where is the formula? What do I have to do? There is nothing. You go and make one, the way we said it, then you measure the capacitance, and then you tell us what's the formula if you change the sizes of the plates or different plates. Then it enlightens you to be what Germans are. There is no formulas. Then they need the creative formula somewhere. But they have made a capacitor, they understand it works, and how by changing it, it gives you a different thing. Become all understanding of German way of teaching. Don't anybody ask you for a formula, says, I'll give it to you, it works. You write the formula, I don't have time. Creating mathematical formulas is the chain which those who cannot think, what I call illiterates of this science, want to stop the others growing in their knowledge. Anybody asks you for mathematical, it means I'm ignorant, I don't understand. Do it for me that I can copy and say I'm a genius. I understood. As I always say, when God created the earth, He did not bring a scale to measure what He puts in. Everything has come together, and the fruit of it is a beautiful life on this planet. Anybody asks you, give me a formula. So you give me a mathematical formula God created to create the earth, then I can give you the rest of it, because that's a little bit of it at the bottom. This is the way we have to go from now on. All the teaching is done, is to understand more and more in depth. And the deeper we go, the brighter knowledge we see. The brighter future we see for mankind. Because now we have Start unraveling, peeling the onion and getting to the inner and inner, fresher and the more brighter knowledge. And this is what we got to do. That's what the teachings from now on will be. And I said a few weeks ago, I started that way because I cannot keep on teaching you how to make cores, do this, do that. It's you who missed it. I was telling Arman yesterday, the day before, I said, Arman, in past 3 years you've been with me, you could have flown 10 times, but you missed it because you don't understand it. The same with the other innovation. And they say, oh, you keep on telling us, but you don't. I will not show you how to fly. I've done my job. I have done what I came here to do, but it's for you to understand where you want to be in understanding of it. Everybody is waiting for a flight system. And nobody asked the question, what is the flight system? What happened? Why don't I fly? We made everything, but we could not fly. You've never shown us any flight system. Any of you who made a core, who made the coil, who made the gases, who made the gas cores or gas cores, you all have been so close, but you never understood the flight system. And I'm trying to get you and innovation groups and the scientists around us to see the flight system. But you have to understand the relationship between each other. Where connects to what and how you can translate or find parallels. This is important. If you can find parallels, then you can translate the knowledge. What you see in the matter state, try to translate it and see with a bigger span what happens in the plasmatic state. Let's look at the flight system. Why none of you have managed to fly. But let's see how we have managed to lift in the present matter state. Look at what we've done. Go back to your education in colleges and the schools. Get yourself a weight. I said a brick. This is a well-known experience. This is well-known. But now we bring the knowledge and then you translate it into plasmatic. You get yourself a brick and get yourself a rope. As I said, how can you lift, let's say, as I said to the others, this is a 2 kilogram brick, and I give you a 50 gram tennis ball. How can this 50 gram lift the 2 kilogram? And fly with it at any level. Some of you know, and if you go back to the mathematical system we used to use, and we use, go back to what we call pulleys. What we did in the present world, we put 2 kilogram here, and we turn this thing around the pulleys, and what we get, somewhere, if we get the number of the pulleys right, we can lift with a 50 gram. Now, but the problem is, you have to carry this pulley with you all the time to be able to keep this lifted to a new position, because now you have moved it to here, but without the pulleys, it's gone. Look at the number of the pulleys, the diameter of the pulleys, the position of the pulleys, the length of the rope, and everything else to be able to lift the ball. We have another condition. Look at a new way, but you already know this way. You got the brick, you got the 50 gram ball. Most of you who are in physics know this very clearly, but now look at it differently. You have a rope, and you connect the rope to the 50 gram ball. Instead of using the pulleys pass the rope through a tube, where you can create a motion exactly like this side in the tennis ball, but a connection between the tennis ball and the brake, which is the rope. Hold on to the tube and start just shaking the tube. Just shake it. That it creates a rotation of the ball. When you reach a certain speed of rotation, the ball will be in the same diameter rotation, the same structure. Maybe it will come a bit longer, bigger, but the brake will start lifting. Hold this tube in your hand and walk around the planet. It will never fall. Go up the mountains, jump off a plane, in the parachute. As long as you keep the speed of the rotation there, the brake will never fall. You can dictate the position of it. The brake is a proton. The ball is an electron. The position of the top of what I call the tube is your North Pole, atmosphere. The balance between the two is creation of the lift. If you could allow the ball to fly instead of one end of the rope anywhere around the ball at a given speed, the ball will lift in the middle and sit. You created that. But if you been with us and you did everything else, you've done the same thing. You put the brick in the middle, you call it the inner core, and you put the ball outside, you call it the outer core. The speed of the rotation of the outer core with the gravitational field in the center of much heavier has created the line between the fields. You have your spaceship. How much more do we need to teach? Sit on the chair. Don't forget, with a ball, you're not playing helicopter game. You're playing field game. There is no disbursement of weight, of air. Now, how many of you have been building the balls, have been making the cores, and you say it doesn't work? Because, as I said to one of the innovation centers today, make a bucket of ganses. Your ganses have to be very heavy. If you look, this is 2000, this is 50 grams. The ratio is 40 to 1. Look at in the atomic structure, the weight of proton in respect to the electron, 2000. Look at the distance between the upper atmosphere of the proton in respect to the upper atmosphere of the electron. That distance is fixed. You call it S1, S2. Then you create to bring in. Now, if you allow the ping pong, the tennis ball to run so fast, it has created the dynamism of the second core. Doesn't matter what's inside. In the teaching of past few weeks, I have taught you this very carefully. The rope is the hydrogen. You looked at the hydrogen as a fuel. I said to you, if you put aluminium in a core and in outer core at a given ratio, because now you fixed it. Why did Armand and Peter and Douglas and the others lost their ball in the testing? Because they achieved it, but they never understood it. The gravitational field force outside create a magnetosphere that this ball fits to somebody. It could be in one of the galaxies, but it's gone. But if you can fix, make a bucket of the same gas of CO2, keep it fixed, put it in the ball, and start playing with the other one till you receive lift. You've all been in a flight mode for months. For months and months. If you had 2 or 3 cores and you made a mixture, you all understood this, you could make any materials you like. In which way can I teach you? I close every door for you to be enlightened, you find another gap to escape through. Because you never understood. Maybe with this, I can teach you to understand. Get a chair, sit on it, make a rope and rotate it on top of your head. You'll see you start flying from the chair. Your own chair with your own speed will start lifting up. I've done it many times. But be careful, you are strong enough, not afraid of your own action, that you might fall. It's the same principle. Look what we've done with the coils in past months and years. We showed you the coil, the inner core, the outer core. If you could create a heavy gravitational and constantly keep it and change the magnetical, you can create any energy you need between the two. You are playing some, it doesn't work, he's a crook, blah blah, because you never understood. Not to show my stupidity, I have to blame somebody, but I'm still stupid. Nothing has changed. Look at the structure of the core, look at the structure of your coils, look at the structure of when we did the gas, when we did gas. When you did star formation is a more concentrated field. So, if you can lift a stone or yourself off the chair with a ping pong ball at a given speed, you understand it, you can do the same thing with the core because your weight will not change. Is the length of the rope at the end from the top, this length here, because when you rotate it, it'll become like this. There's no bend there. So the length of the rope is the diameter difference between your two cores. The gap on the cores and the coils. This is the potential difference. That's why it works. 1 millimeter to so much volt equal to so much RPM. If you find that ratio, you can all fly. If you needed a 36-inch rope to fly and lift 2 kilometers with a 50, from the top of here is 36 inches, then you can translate this knowledge to what RPM or what voltage difference you need that you achieve the lift. You're all in space technology. Goodbye, NASA. Goodbye, propulsion. Now you can translate the whole knowledge right across. the matter state into the plasma state, into transfer of voltage and current, which is whichever you like. That's why we say certain RPMs, certain voltages creates lift. But this lift is inertia independent because it can go anywhere. Walk up the ladder, you see still the same rotation of, you don't need to change the speed of rotation, because now the fields, you look at the ball as a ball, but that ball has gravitational magnetic field, the strength of the mass. It has created its own atmosphere in its plasmatic form, and it's interacting with the brick. If you look at it, the wire is the feedback, nothing else. You need the feedback. That's why, as I said in other teachings, when you put heavy alkaline in the center, which is gravitational, look at all your alkalines, all got oxygen. Oxygen is creation, is a gravitational field in plasmatic condition on this planet. But if you spread it down, it becomes hydrogen property. Those who understand in the future will appreciate it. So now you created a GANS, heavy GANS in the center. You put a little bit, you need a feedback. The feedback was a little bit of alkaline. But you need a line of connection for the feedback. Now you put the hydrogen inside and hydrogen outside. Because the alkalineness can change. The speed of the rotation, the speed of the distance between the top and the ball can change. But you cannot lose the connection, which is the wire, the cable. So you made the cable by adding the hydrogen to aluminum in both cores. You made the rope. Because it's a common denominator, minimum common denominator cannot be broken. So you have all the tools. Any of you can fly, and I keep on saying it. I say, you talk about it, but you can't. But it's not my fault that you don't see the light. The street is lit. You are blind. So understand the translation of the knowledge, understand the translation of the information. Those who sit with us from NASA organization, the Russian Space Agency, I hope you got your message. I hope now you can fly in peace. And I congratulate the Iranian scientists in their achievement. Translate the knowledge. Understand if you're working with a matter state, or you're working with plasma state, or you're working with a mixture of two. At the moment, you're working with a mixture of two. You put the plasma in, but you contain it with a copper core. You contain it with a plastic. So now you're working in a mixture. Use one in advantage of the other, till you come to the point that that layer of the copper or plastic or the ball you had can be changed to a different speed of rotation of the plasma, that it creates the separation as you want. But for now, at least you can start. Do not change the central mass of the core. Make different balls, but make a pot, shake it and absorb, extract from it what you need, and put it in the center core. So more or less you're about the same all the time. Change the diameter, the outer diameter, or change the acidity or salinity of the outer core, or change the speed. Don't change everything at the same time. It's mayhem. That's why you don't get nowhere. Change slightly more acidity into the outer core, because your inner core, you already fixed it. And then you see where the time comes where you start seeing the lift of the center core from the bottom to the middle, and then you start seeing when you start leaking water, and continue. Or you get extraction of the water inside, continue. Change the speed slowly and see the lift. Do the same thing with the voltage current through your maggrav system. Your maggrav systems will fly. Connect the maggrav systems, all three of them in a stacker, all the gravitational together with a very little feedback. Don't connect one to the other. And then change the number of turns or a current flow through the magnetical core of all the three. Your system will fly. You will create a shielding, most probably first. We have seen in research 24 plus, 35 plus field expansion. Because now you dictate how far the field wants to be. Understand from now on the totality, but don't consider matter as a matter. Consider matter, as we always say, as one of the strengths of the plasma in the spectrum of the total plasmatic condition. Flight is imminent. It depends which one of you want to do it. If you want to see that it works, Renan, you're in the background. Is Renan with us? Hello? Have I been teaching myself?
Oh, we can hear you, Mr. Cash. We are looking for Raymond.
Just trying to see there, Mr. Kish. I don't see. Yeah, Renan's there. I'll promote him to a panelist and see if he can speak.
Hello, Renan.
Renan, are you there?
Hello?
I'll
Maybe
try
he's
to
not.
unmute if he responds. Hello, Renan? I'm not hearing the audio for some reason.
The children are there. He's somewhere in there.
Sorry, I couldn't hear the audio there. The headphone was unplugged at my end. Renan, are you there?
Are you there, Renan? No,
I don't think he's.
I think his children have taken over again.
Yes, I think they've taken him over there. Transmitting booth.
They are the joy of life. We don't see Renan. Is Arman in the background? Arman, are you there? Do you see Arman anywhere, or is he asleep?
I don't see him in the viewers list or as a panelist right now.
He doesn't seem to be online at all.
Okay. He must be asleep. So what happens in so many cases now? A lot of you who've been testing, you should be able to test flights. This is literally the way you can test it, the way you see it, the way it has to be. Can you try to raise Renan in the background for me, please? If Werner is online or Clint.
I'm already sending the messages.
Okay, thank you very much. So what you see, what you have to understand is that the composition of what air is in the ball links to the air which is in the brick. That it creates a plasmatic condition. because they are in the same atmospheric condition. If I change the composition of the air in one or the other, you will find out that the length of the rope will change, or there will be no interaction. The strength of the connection is decided by the man. You can pull the brick up with a thread. Small, thin thread. If you understood this, it should be very easy for you, all of you, to start test flight. Those of you who had the guns, who had made the balls, and you lost the balls and you can't find out, you don't see it. Now you can condense it. Now you have a flying system. Understand it, you can replicate it, you fly. Irrespective of position anywhere on this planet. But be careful you don't lose your balls. This is why we keep on asking 5,000 plus 7,000 plus 10,000 plus RPM machines, motors. Common denominator for isotopes of carbon is between 6 and 8, because sometimes it goes in the margin of nitrogen. So if you understood that, RPM has to be around between 6 to 8,000 and plus, depending on the diameter separation between the two cores. You got to understand how you measure the atomic mass plasma of your center core. It's not by grams. It's by molecular plasmatic weight and the amount you put in. A rough guide, which is not the correct, but a rough guide. Look at the avocado number, 6.19 or 6.3 times 10 to the power of 90. Then you have 20–30% margin of error because of the plasmatic condition, as plasma by order of magnitude is stronger in the plasmatic condition than the matter state. You can roughly fix the center at a given point, fix the outside, RPM, you'll fly. Have you found Renan yet?
Well, we can ask him again. Renan, are you available there? Can you unmute?
He's not there.
You see Renan and Bernie in busy status, so they are online, but probably not at the computer.
Okay, no problem. If you see them coming on, let me know.
Okay.
Thank you very much. Any questions?
Hello, I'm Mosfik Rashid from Bangladesh, and I have a question regarding the relationship of a dynamic system and a static system. In the static system, the coils are used, I believe, to create what is equivalent to mechanical rotation. Now, so in a dual core system, if I put, instead of mechanical rotation or electrical rotation through applying voltages, if I put the coils in the middle, then I should be able to create the potential differences between the two core without any mechanical or electrical rotation.
Yes, but you have to consider two things in the background. One is what kind of gas you use for coating it. You have to understand you have the separation of the nanomaterial. The current flow is in a plasmatic, not as a current, as a voltage.
So it should provide more advantage because electrical, it doesn't have the limitation because I can arbitrarily change the number of turns and don't have the vibration issues that in a mechanical system.
It is more efficient. Yes, it's more efficient. It's more, it's much faster, but it's so strong, it's above the matter state. You have to find a way, if you want to use it for energy, to bring it down to matter state. If you want to use it for lift, to understand the comparison with the Earth gravitational magnetic field position. None of you have lost, let me explain, none of you have lost the core yet. None of you, nobody has lost the coil when you're making the winding. If you look down your double coil, the center core, the what we call gravitational core, is another core, and every nudge, every turn on it is additional field transfer. So if you look at the bottom of the core, the coil, if you look, is exactly another reactor. And you've got to look at the fields in the center and here, not at the copper and the turning or the nano coating. But you made more of them.
So the number of turns intensifies the inner strength.
Inner field. And nobody has ever tapped into it. If you look at it, just cut the coil you made and look. It's exactly the same as the cores you made. In the cores, you consider what material you put in. In the coils, you don't, just because you put something there and it has to work. You can make a coil to fly as easy as you can do a core, but it's much easier.
So it's much easier with a coil, I think, and that's my assumption. And
why not? Right. There are flight systems in the universe use that technology.
Okay.
But it needs mastery in understanding. Because every turn to the other, it amplifies the strength if you're using one end to feed the energy through.
Yeah, if it's in a loop, I mean the gravitational on the connected in a loop, the infinity loop, and if there is a relation, then it should work very rapidly. But the problem is that the relationship is, since it's nonlinear, just like having an there should be a relationship between the number of turns and the RPM.
Yes, let me explain to you what it is. The relationship is by order of magnitude, if you understand it, per turn.
So it's the exponential, essentially, it's increasing exponentially as turns get added.
You come from Bangladesh, you play chess, yes?
Not quite, but I know chess.
Yeah, you know chess. You know the story of the turn by the order of magnitude is the story of the guy who made the chess and asked the king what. The king said, "What do you want?" He said, "I don't want anything." But he said, "Oh, you made such a beautiful game. What can I give you?" He says, "Put 1 grain of rice in the first house and double it to the next." By the time they got to the 64 block, there was enough rice in the whole kingdom to pay the man as a present.
Thank you. That clears up a lot.
Needs a wise man to see. This is what you do when you create voltage current through. But nobody has ever picked on it. And I put it always in a nutshell. But if you understand it, you can control a plasmatic field. And a lot of people, if you go back on the internet, you see what I call donut flying system. Donut flying system use a coil system. It's a very common, it's another, like, you know, you have a Rolls Royce and you have a Mini and you have a truck. It's another flight system. Those of you who understand the coil system in the future will build a donut. Donut has a lot of advantage. Donut flight system, space system has huge advantage. But it's very, very hard to control because it absorbs too much energy, and flying it is much easier because you can tilt it much easier. You always fly by tilt. Flight vertical is very difficult. And the beauty with it is that it creates a donut field. So you can actually fly to very tense, very intense fields, like what you call Newton stars. Donuts is one of the best way to fly with them. You can change the flight mode system 6 and 12 coils, the way I've shown before, into a donut. Very easily. They work very perfect donut, but then you have to understand there are two ways of donuts. You can create a donut. Back again with this thing. Let me change this because then I can do it. You have it. Something is happening here again. You have a donut this way. With a donut, you look at it this way as a donut, or if you look at the bigger donut, you look at it this way. If I can draw it. Here you create a field on this body, on this side. And here you correct the field on this side. So you play the fields interaction. And the donuts shape flight system are amazing to fly with. Try it. What you got to do, if you're using the coils, is to connect the gravitational to a different power supply and the magnetical to a different power supply. You still see your coil flying. If you get it right, you got the mixture right, you got nano coating right, you see the coil flying. But make sure you have no attachment to the wall as a power supply. You have to be on a battery type thing, because the minute it takes hold, the whole structure starts rotating. Initially, it vibrates to the left usually, because it tries to go anti-clockwise, and then it finds it balances, so it goes direct. It's one of the pleasures of space flight. Don't forget, in the donut, your central field sits in the center. You can more or less use the atmospheric condition of the universe to create what you like as your black hole. Your black hole sits right in the center, which gives you the energy. You decide what you drain from it, it dictates your speed. It's an amazing flying system. Any other question?
Hello, Mr. Kesh. This is Renan. I'm here, sir.
Yay! Thank you very much for coming back. Renan, can we see your street demonstration of a couple of days ago with a weight sack of sand and a
Okay,
ball?
sir. Give me a minute to pick the video.
Okay. You will see it working. Oh, there comes my tea. Thank you very much.
Mr. Kesh, we have also Armin with us.
Okay. Where is Arman? Arman, let's Renan show. Have you found your video yet, Renan?
For a while, sir, I am looking for it.
Arman, are you there? Are you awake?
Oh, yes, I.
We made him awake.
How did you
Sorry,
wake him up? Did somebody call him?
Yeah, I was sleeping, Mr. Kish. I just.
Ah, sorry about that. I wanted to know if you would like to show how you're gonna lift with your chair up.
It's 2 o'clock, Mr. Kish. And
I know, I thought you were online.
yeah, I just woke up, you know.
No, go back to sleep.
No, it's okay. I'm up.
We didn't want to wake you up.
It's okay. It's okay.
Arban has tested it and it works. Renan has the video of it and it works. Understand and translate the knowledge, and then you understand very easily you're all in a flight mode. Just translate the knowledge in the right way. Translate the knowledge how it should be, not what you like it to be, and it will fly. Have you found it, Renan?
For a while, sir, I think I lost it in my folder. I'll just find it in the other folders.
Okay. It's a few days old, it should be there somewhere. This is important because this puts what has been with a lot of you trying to fly out of the whole equation. In what you wanted to achieve and how you wanted to achieve flight. Because with this way, we can now open the books of universe. With this way, we can extend it. We can see how far we can go, how you can expand it. Now you understand why people could not see the flight. Have you found it, Renan? Hello?
Hello, sir. Not yet, sir.
Any other question?
Yes, Mr. Cash. This is Mohsen from California. Mr. Cash, in one of your teachings, and please correct me if I'm wrong, you mentioned that there is a universal GANs for every purpose, for every single purpose in the universe, from creating the matter to the lift to energy, medical, one single GANs that it can cover everything. Can you please explain a little bit about it, if you could?
The gas is deuterium. Deuterium is a balanced condition. When you use deuterium, you got to go back to the essence of understanding of the physics of the whole structure. I'm going to clean this up if you want to get this.
Hello, sir. I got it, sir.
You got it. Okay, let's see this and then I'll explain to you about deuterium. Can you show it? I stop sharing, that you can take over. Would you like to share? Now you see how all of you can fly very easily. Would you like to play it? Thank you very much, Sharon. Do you want to play it again? If you look, the back hardly rotates, but thank you very much. Now you see it's very easy. Now
You're
you see
welcome.
all. Thank you very much. Now you see it can all fly. Can I share this back here? Talking about the deuterium, you have to understand why deuterium. You need stability and a balance, and always the three to be in conjunction with each other, otherwise you create abnormality. If you look in deuterium, you're back with the same game again.
Try to click undo.
I'm trying to undo, but the undo doesn't undo. Okay, oh, I did undo too much. Okay, now if we look at understanding the totality, you have the neutron, you have the proton, you have the electron. Neutron is central gravitational part, which means the system is stable. You have the second part, which is a proton, lighter. And then you have the electron, which is, in fact, uses this, if you look at it. If you notice, I have made gravitational positioning. What you can do, if you manage to push electron slightly further in or slightly further out, look, what do you know in physics? S1, S2, S3. Now that you know you can collect and condition the gravitational positioning, how you can control it, allow it, this electron can sit and have the property of the all or individually in each of the rings. So deuterium has a stable condition in the center. You have the proton as the intermediary to balance off. You can produce anything you like. Would you like gold or would you like copper? Would you like helium? Is the magnetosphere strength which is dictating the manifestation of the property of the element, not the entity of the proton. Or the entity of the electron. Coulomb's barrier is gravitational magnetic field balance. If you are a hydrogen, smaller, according to the strength between the proton, gravitational magnetic field, and the electron, or the neutron. Neutron is the center. And if you look, goes back again to the same thing. Three fields, manifestation of tangibility. If you play with deuterium, you're always the winner. If you want to work that you can make elements very quickly, you go to tritium. Because there you have a spare guy somewhere. And that spare guy, you can dictate to create the condition of the elements much faster. Because now you play these two against each other. because birds with birds, dogs with dogs. The heavier, which is neutron, always dictates the condition. Doesn't matter how big the Saturn is, the sun is the center. In plasma physics, you go by the order of the magnitude of the plasmatic mass. So you look into deuterium, and you can build it yourself. You can make deuterium anywhere in the universe. You can do it with the 3 layers. If you understood the left, which we explained how you measure the core, you make 3 core layer, you apply the deuterium, then you can create anything you like, any condition. In this environment here, in this gap, you work with megawatts. In this gap, you work with megawatts. In this gap, you work beyond your imagination. Don't forget, we put this thing down as what we call here a neutron, a proton, and an electron. In the reality of condition, this guy is rotating itself, this one is rotating itself, this one is rotating itself, and at the same time this one is rotating around this one, while this one is rotating around this. Actually, electrons a lot of times go to the center of nucleus, exactly like meteorites do. It gets pulled in and it gets pushed out. It's part of their path. They get their energy level that they pass through the center of the nucleus sometimes too. And then you find out this chap on his own is rotating in this direction. And then you'll find out in times protons are totally opposite way rotating. It happens a lot in the deuterium. To keep the balance, proton is sandwiched in between, is forced to change direction of motion. And then these are the elements, the electrons, what they call atom structure, which the man has no understanding of yet. But you can use it for production of huge amount of energy, especially for instant transportation. You keep the gravitational field of the environment in respect to this, but you change this, then you can be anywhere instantaneously, as long as you keep your center core always fixed. This is the way we have to understand the technology. I always refer back to the tape we always used to play. We have made it so simple that we use the matter to create nanomaterials with it, with the gas, and the binding is so strong because they all have the same common denominator element. It applies the same to the plasma, because the neutron in the center of deuterium, which holds on to the proton and to the electron, must have a common denominator gravitational magnetic field. If it doesn't, it becomes a hydrogen. That's why we see hydrogen so much on this planet. Because if you look at more or less the structure of between the oxygen and the neutron, nitrogen, or if you look at the structure between the nitrogen and the carbon, the discrepancies in the amount of the energy is big enough to create a proton and electron, but not strong enough to create a neutron to get deuterium. When you confine certain gravitational magnetic field imposed on the hydrogen in a specific conditions, very, very specific condition, which can affect the gravitational magnetic field of the oxygen, you end up with heavy water. That's why heavy water is very rare and you need to hold it, control it. It's the environmental gravitational magnetic field within the center, within the structure of the inertia, which forces the creation of deuterium. And then on the other hand, you do the same thing for the creation of heavy water. Look the places where heavy waters are produced. In Iran, we have a natural abundance of it because of the structure. Because of the mountain regions and the way the gravitational field sits in the plates. And in time places you find deuterium, you cannot find afterwards when the geological structure changes. Any other question?
This is John here. I would like to go back to where you were talking about the fridge and keeping the vegetables and meat or whatever. The Gans water could be used in the mortuaries to preserve the bodies, especially in tropical countries where they deteriorate very fast.
Yeah, and you can use it to kill the smell.
Exactly, yes, when the family is there and the smell is very strong, you could get rid of that smell, yes.
Any other question? Anybody wants to add to the knowledge? Do you have anything to show, or we're nearly, what do you call it, 11:20?
We did have Patrick who mentions in the chat, in the Q&A, he says his plasma sphere experiments border on what Mr. Kesh is talking about. And I'm wondering if he would like to show something about that, perhaps.
What?
He has some plasma sphere experiments. He says that borders on what Mr. Kesh is talking about in the last, just before this last part of your teaching here. So we
You have something to show us? Let's see.
Yeah, I'm just asking.
There is no music on it. There is no music on it.
I'm not sure. I thought we might be able to get him. Let me promote him to a panelist, and then he can have an opportunity to speak, perhaps.
This is John again, Mr. Keshe. Deuterium, do we have to get hold of the deuterium in the traditional way, where they make heavy water, or is
you can produce it yourself. Deuterium can be produced very, very easily. If you can work with a nitrogen and carbon. You push it not to become helium, but you create a condition within the salt content that it creates deuterium. It's very easy to create deuterium. Creating deuterium, go back to what I said, it's the environmental of the earth which dictates the creation of deuterium and heavy water. So we changed the condition. This is something, let me explain something. Maybe we add to knowledge, or not add to knowledge, but go in more detail in something. I was teaching this recently. We explained that the life on Earth is created out of the gaseous part and the physical matter part. And then you have the liquids, which they come as part of gaseous part. In fact, if you look at, as I was explaining, somebody laughed, says, why don't we look at this way? If you look at the, what I call the oceans on this planet, if you look at the oceans on this planet, these are actually the pots, the cooking pots. And the solid matter is the pot itself. You put nano-coated copper and a zinc, and you made a CO2, and you got amino acid on it. Now, you understand oil will never finish. So, if you go back on the understanding, if you have waters which trapped in the gaps of the physical structure, and then you added the water into it, and then the condition is that this environment has a say on what is inside. And in certain conditions, it changes the light water into heavy water. So what you have actually created is the fields inside. It's this field which dictates what we absorb from the cosmos. Because we attract it, because the field of it, it matches, it brings it to it, and it's got a strength limit and another strength limit, anything can come in, which is another strength. So now we understand why we produce so much oil, and oil is not what they say fossil fuel. I wonder how many dinosaurs would have died in past millions of years for us to have oil at 80 million barrels a day. We produce, we've done an estimate, you produce something between 20 to 30 million gallons of oil per day. Day in, day out. It's been done for millions of years. Part of it in going through, getting washed through, what do we call it, hurricanes, the waves on the sea and everything else, lead to creation of new animals, new creations, and we see continuously new creation because of the condition that the amino acids in its path through to go down to become oil. It's given a condition that it can create life, and the new animals created. If you pick up the picture of, let's say, a million years ago and today, the part of the animals which are created, the new ones, is because of the new, what I call the evolution life of the planet, are the ones which has come up, so that the new cancers, as you call them. And the old cancers, because the field has changed, cannot exist, have disappeared. This is what we do in the body of the man. So you'll find out that man, this planet produces 20-30 million barrels of oil every day, because the beauty of the gift of the sun does not finish. It's always coming, and in coming, it's a natural process of interaction. On the facing side of the sun, we produce fair amount of amino acid, which are at the strength of the higher order. We produce amino acid again on a backside, dark side away, because of the different strength. So the totality, we create a spectrum of oils. Depending what structure is inside, We call it light oil or heavy oil. We found the new one, it wasn't there before because we changed so much transmitting magnetic field that we create parallels, and in dark cavities, oil, water can change into oil. Exactly where water comes, get created inside the stones, it never came in through the walls of the earth. The same structure as potato exists.
Mr. Kesh, we've got a video from Patrick showing his spheres, and it might be
checked it. Are you happy? Have you checked it? Are you happy to show it?
Yeah, I think it'll be fine. It's I've downloaded it, so I'm playing it just as a video. Okay, let me get into that here.
You want me to stop sharing?
Yeah, I think I can automatically
okay, I stopped.
Do the override here, but yes, thank you. And make it a bit bigger. This is a little over 3 minutes. I think it's close to 4 minutes long here, but okay, so I'll share the screen. Should be able to see it there and on the live stream as well. And let me play it and just.
Are we showing on the Facebook as well today?
Yes, I believe so. Facebook, YouTube, and Zoom and live stream, all simultaneously. Okay, so let's play it here. Okay, and that's the end of the video. Patrick, are you there? Maybe you'd like to comment on that?
Yes, Rick, I'm trying to share my video.
Okay, let me stop the share and you can share your video then.
Can you see me?
No, we just see your image right now. Did you want to start your video? Is that what you're trying to do?
I thought I had. Oh, sorry. Okay.
Okay, there we go. Now we see your live image.
Hello.
Hi, how you doing?
Good. I just wrote a little bit of a summary of what that little experiment was about, and if I can just reduce the exit full screen. Here we are. I'll read that out to you. Similar to the last experiment, I've done a couple of these experiments. But the spheres have had a further 3 days to consolidate their fields. The fields have grown in strength and have a lot of resistance to being pushed. They don't like being knocked from their position. This is noticeable to the touch when pushing. However, when enough force has been invoked, they will move and the fields will break. Notice the new spheres introduced into the pool, they show very little resistance because the fields hadn't had time to consolidate. And when pushed, the momentum carries them quite a considerable distance. These freshly introduced spheres had not had the opportunity to find position. And within about 5 or 6 hours, they start to lock in and again, they start to develop resistance to movement. And what I've learned is that so far that it seems as though the extreme alkaline and the extreme acid seem to be the strongest of the fields. And
just to recap, what were the various spheres you had there? I think you had them listed 1 to 10 or something, different substances in the spheres.
I'll just get the sheet.
Okay, thank you.
From 1 to 13 now, I've got lead, neodymium, bismuth, rare earth, aluminium, copper, and that's copper negative, and CO2, CH3 negative, acid, alkaline, CH3 positive, and CuO positive, and of course my own DNA. And I'm just trying to work out how many correlations, how many different fields that and what sort of reactions they sort of emit. So
now you also did some magnetic tests, right, with a magnet on the spheres?
Yeah, I did do that, and I showed it on your on the plasma workshop, and I haven't made a video of that because I've been playing around with these fields that have set in position, and I just didn't want to disturb it until I've finished doing what I've set up.
Right, one field at it.
I didn't say anything about this the other day because you know, my alkaline sphere, I was standing a little bit away from the bowl, as you saw it, and the alkaline sphere, I thought it jumped all by itself. And I thought, oh no, I'm imagining things. And then I moved it back and it did it again, but I haven't been able to repeat it since. So twice this has moved by itself. The first time I thought I was imagining things, and the second time, you know, I'm fairly certain that it did happen. And when it did move, it moved around about 30, 40 millimeters. So I don't know what Mr. Kesh would have to say about that.
What do you mean move 30? You're talking about 3 or 4 centimeters? It moved?
Yeah, 30 mil, 40 millimeters, yeah.
Are you talking about horizontally in the water?
Horizontally out of the water and hit the bottom of the tub when it landed. It made a noise and I looked over there and I mean, I wasn't standing next to it and I didn't see it happen, but I heard it happen. So,
you don't have GANs of Mexican jumping beans in there, do you?
I think so.
Well,
but I can't prove it, and I couldn't repeat it, so I couldn't film it. So.
Oh yes, the one that got away. What do you think, Mr. Kesh?
What do you think, Mr. Clement? You're a master in these things. Why do you think it flew?
Well, it was maybe it is like a fish in an environment it didn't like to be in, and it just wanted to jump up there. Maybe it was in like if an acid is in an alkaline environment, if you pour an acid into an alkaline, for example, you'll find a lot of jumping things. The water, the liquid you have might splatter and just jump right out in an explosion. So perhaps
it's a gravitation. They position themselves.
Mm-hmm.
He speaks about the CH3, which means there's a lot of giving. When you give, you have to find a position in respect to what it's taking. That CH3, because you look at the ball, but you got to look at the fields of the ball. So,
and does it build up to a certain point and then it just lets go?
Yeah. If it's trapped by the others, you have to find a position exactly where the structure is the same. And if your balls are in the same position, you put it in there. If the fields build up to a point, then it creates a magnetic positioning. It has to find, because the CH3 is what we call acidic, what we call magnetical. So why does it move? Why does it find distance? Means the field which is giving out has to find a space balance with the others which are giving too. So it's like two north poles put next to each other. The field composition. If you look at the ball, most probably, if it was moving, it has changed direction of motion. And in changing direction of motion, because the field's trying to find the balance, it jumps out. Was it on the boundary outside, or is it one of the balls inside?
It was one of the balls on the boundary, but it was when I first set this up, and the fields, I didn't think the fields had a lot of time to establish and consolidate.
We've seen this, if you remember, with the bubbling GANs with Douglas about a year ago. But in your case, it's horizontal, but it takes the shape of moving. It's the magnetic systems, because you fix them, the amount, they find their position, they try to find a position. So you got that job. But because you have to, so what it means, if you look at it, where this structure is, the field of that many balls is magnetical. Because then it has created a magnetical field in respect to the others, and they have to find a position. You change the strength of the magnet, so it has to find. And if it is rapid, this is how people lost the balls when they were testing. You create that condition. This is why you put gravitational or alkaline with acidic. If you understand this transition of the alkaline, we were talking about the tritium. You can create a tritium that is both alkaline and acidic. Very much so. But you can create a condition for it to become alkaline or acidic by introduction of the next neutron, or what you call tritium, in a matter state. By changing the position or direction of the rotation of the second reactor or a fourth reactor, you dictate the field strength. It's exactly like what you create as a amino acid. The separation of the fields or the reactors from each other, it's a dictator of the positioning. This goes back to what we call 129 test, Tesla test. Arman got the mixture so precise that it was perfectly controlled. We didn't touch it. We didn't need to touch it. But every time we changed the environment, it responded according to the environment. So you have kept the structure the same. You can do a lot of tests in water. And one of the best way to do it when you do it in the water like this is change the salinity and see the change. If you even change the salinity or the alkalineness of the top, not what's inside it, you will see a lot. But the disturbance shouldn't be that it disturbs the water. If you can add it to it, and then you'll find out, without doing anything, your balls start moving around.
Mr. Kesh, well, just I didn't mean to interrupt you, Patrick, but I got a message from in the chat here that there's a video from Franji, who has been taking part of in the reactor group and so on. And she has a video with an apple in a pot which rotates in some GANS water apparently, and it may illustrate that point. So maybe it'd be appropriate to have a look at it, I thought.
Yeah, you see, this is what we say. This is what I was. Can I get my screen back, please? Yeah.
Okay.
This is part of the teaching, going more, what do you call it, in sharing knowledge. And this is where I started with the tritium, and I think it's good to go back to it. When you see this situation here, what we done here, you have the gaseous part. Here you have the physical part, the matter state. The oceans, according to their salinity, create different proteins on the top, and that protein allows different fishes to live in that environment. That's why we can't find certain fishes in certain part. Because the gravitational magnetic field created by the salinity of the water and the environment of the container dictates what kind of protein from the environment is absorbed. It's not all the same protein. So here we get the creation of certain fishes. It's the salinity which dictates it. And if you look in our systems, when you make a container, it's the same copper, the same wire, zinc. We change the salinity or the salt, we create still the same thing, but different materials. What happened? The matter here is, if you look at it, is this way. Above this way, atmospheric, is the condition or environment of the earth. We put a salt container here and we change the material here. We just change the condition. Now is not nitrogen, hydrogen. Now is sodium and calcium, or sorry, sodium and chlor. So that's why here we can create different materials. By conditioning the environment, we produce different fields. This is something none of you ever looks at, and this is the reality of where we sit. You change the salinity, you change the environment. In fact, these two are fixed, but the protein absorbed here and the type of carbon absorbed here is different. You change the salt from magnesium to potassium or whatever, you change the environment, and now you're in a position, you're the creator of the condition. That's why we see in these containers, the balls position themselves. If you most probably could keep the balls in a given condition with the amount of materials you put in there, zinc and whatever, look at the bottom. Have you created any GANs of anything? Is there any layer at the bottom different? Are you producing the same condition as the others? What about if you sink one of the balls and hold it at the bottom? See how the others will react to it. The creation of the condition now is in our control, and that's how I understood from the very beginning. This is the atmosphere of Earth. I create the atmosphere of Zeus here. So I get still the same things, but I get it at the strength of planet Zeus. This is what a lot of you haven't understood. Just changes the water, the salt, or whatever. But salinity has given condition as a different property, absorb different amino acid. You have created a new environment. We can replicate in these containers condition of the planet or the system which we want to go into or come out of. It is the beauty of it, and this is what we have to, what do you call it, open up the knowledge that is understood in a simpler way. All you've done with your container, you have created a new environment. A new environment creates new materials, or you can replicate the materials you want as a given strength. If you understand this, then you understand you can create in the same container a condition where only gold comes at the bottom. You extract any gold material which is at the strength in the upper atmosphere from Earth to the Sun and above. This is what never understood, and I keep on going back on it, and one day somebody will jump on it. Peter in Austria went one way and he just got carried away with a different way. But when you put a ball opposite the other two balls, you have fixed the condition. It's the same here. If you find the right nanomaterial mixture, one of them has to be nano because then you dictate the fields, you can, in your buckets, look, you can create gold at the bottom. You can create calcium. We do a lot of calcium. If you look at a lot of ganses, you have a solid gans calcium. We tested this calcium. Where does it come from? It could be in the water, but it means now that water has dictated the condition of being absorbing calcium plasmatic field, which can cross over. Because it doesn't stop once it keeps on producing it. How much calcium is in the water? I've done that for months. You still collect it, you see it. I'll give you a piece of thought. Very, very deep understanding of the technology. We said that we put an orange, we took the taste of orange in the water. Just to explain that plasmatic gravitational magnetic fields of the environment above Earth dictates what we collect here. The salinity in the water. As I said, Benjamin does magnesium salt and he says I still get CO2, but it has different effect. I can use it for a different thing. I said yes to it. Now you're getting enlightened, you see more. But now go back, a mobile mixture of salinity walking on the planet. If the Earth through the salt water was creating life, and for example absorbing certain given material, for example, do we use energy of the cosmos at the strength of calcium to produce our bone structure? The answer is yes. That is why we have different bone structure in different part of this planet. %20 of the food we eat comes from cabbages and potatoes and the meat. The rest comes from universal cosmos. It just doesn't come in, so it has to have a need for it to come, to be absorbed by and to be given out. So our body is not just made from the matter's energy of this planet, it is made from the universal energy. And if you understand this further on, you understand you can connect to any entity in the universe through the same channel, the way you did in the two cores, by having hydrogen in one and the other. This is what, when you put the bucket and you put the balls, you change the salinity, see if the balls start moving apart or become more compact. You change the environment, you change the new field strength. And if you create a certain salinity, you will see all the balls will jump up and down on a frequent basis. Because you change the environment. And that field dictates different positioning in respect to what is said. The contents in the poles cannot change. And in response to the environment, they start moving in position. This understanding of the salinity in the body of the man will come to haunt man in deep space. Because you absorb so many different kind of energies that can create conditions that the man will go through rapid evolution according to the environment he's in. If you look and change your salinity and keep a photographic copy of all the balls in color and shades, you'll find in different strength they should become different shades, because they have to reveal a new dimension and strength in their structure. Otherwise they take position to stay the same. Would you like to share the video?
Yes, I believe Synergy Evolution can do the screen share. There we go.
Hello Rick, hello Mr. Kish, hello everybody. It's Dominique from Le Mans in France, and I met Francie last time because I organized a small conference, and she come to share what she find, and I have this video from her. I share my screen.
Yes, please, go ahead.
Păi, în principiu, da. De ce da? Mai să nu dai, să nu apeși pe ăla de dat drumul la apă sau să ribuia.
Microphone open, thank you. We're not seeing anything yet. Hello? Oh, I think maybe all the mics were open there. Theodore, your microphone is open there, so you have to control that.
You don't see it now?
No, try again.
Yeah.
Are you sharing a video? Is that it?
Yeah, I do.
Okay.
Do you see now?
Yes, now we see something. Yeah.
She just put liquid plasma CH3, and she put this apple in it, and she shows this rotating, and she tried to put the pot another way, and it's the same.
So it just continues to rotate is the idea.
Yes, yes. You want more?
If you could repeat it, that would be good.
I just put.
All right, great. Thank
Okay,
you.
I stop sharing. I'm sorry, I have no some explanation. I just share what Francis asked to me, and I know she tried to put this spot in different place, and that's the same. So maybe it's relationships to Earth also, but not only. I don't know if Francis is online.
I don't think she's online right now. I didn't see her name come up, so she'll have to pick it up on the video as far as watching it goes. Yeah, just to mention Francis, she's been participating quite a bit. She was on one of the earlier Knowledge Seekers workshops with the Everlasting Battery, the Everlasting Meadow Battery, I think it was called, and out in the field. And she's also done some work with her car to increase the fuel mileage by putting coils and GANS balls in her vehicle that she says works, and so on. She's given several testimonials in the testimonial site of the Keshe Foundation. Okay, I think we're back to you, Mr. Keshe. There are a couple of other questions. A couple of questions that have come up for people here is I've gotten several people are wondering what the progress is on the solid state power unit, the generator rather.
We're still developing it. I show hopefully in next few days we should be able to show it, and then we go in production.
Okay.
It's the development which just goes on development, and now it's additional development. And once we start making casts, as I said, it's going to cost a lot of money to recast it. Now we go to a point and say this point is the point to release it.
Mm-hmm.
We will show it in a coming week or two, and then we go into mass production with it, because then we have to do the way we did with maglev systems. Then we have to go into 3-4 months and develop the next stage, and then release a new generators.
Right. Okay. And there was one other question. I know we're pretty much probably getting toward the end of the. Oops. I guess we're getting close to the end of the workshop here. But there's a question about, many people have this now, about earthquakes and about the, like Rhubarb mentions in the questions, in New Zealand we're seeing a huge increase in frequency and size of earthquakes over the last 3 to 4 weeks. In particular, the deep ones that seem to precipitate larger shallow quakes that cause enormous damage. Over 60% of our population lives on the Pacific coastline and is also at risk from tsunami, which appears to be increasing as well. Some of us have been trying to prepare ourselves and warn those around, and the media is starting to make gentle noises of the danger. Can Dr. Keshe please assist us with an update as he sees it for the region of the Ring of Fire? Thank you.
As you know, the section we explained for the first time about this movement, somebody sent me a link a couple of weeks ago. It's been watched by 1.2 million, 1 million something people. So, and then they have put it on their own, what do you call it, video sections in the internet. So millions of people are aware of this, what we talk. And as a scientist very recently told me, we thought of everything except breaking up continents, because it was nothing we ever thought is happening. And with what you explained, this explains a lot. What we've seen is the separation. There is alarming motion, which is extremely alarming. New Zealand 2-meter shift, and what we've seen, if you go back on the same video, I said in South France, North Africa, we'll see. We have started seeing for the first time earthquakes in Morocco. in Spanish and the French side. It is normal to see high activities going towards Christmas, because it's the time when all the changes of the last season, with the new changes coming in, positioning of the Earth, will bring in the new changes. So what we've seen is in line with what was expected. New Zealand earthquake, if you listen to the recording of the same in past year or two, I explained you see earthquakes in the west coast of Australia and New Zealand. So we are fully in line. The problem with the New Zealand move is that is put the pressure directly into Argentina. Directly into the Argentinian. And that is where the problem sits. Now it's like somebody pushing you, you're sitting down on a pin and somebody push you back. That pressure now is going to create a separation. That's why the move has been that way. And then on the same pressure on the back stroke of the expansion, the pressure on the Argentinian, and Chilean side, and we will see a lot of activities very, very shortly in Panama section. And then we'll see the what we call possibility of the huge release in around California, if you are correct. And we expect around between 8 to 10 plus. It's one snap, it's just the sound of the breaking. You hear the wood cracking, but that the last snap is a noise, it's a lot. This can happen in the next few months, and it drags on into next year. But exactly what we've seen, what we expected is online. I expect a massive earthquake in Iran. It's imminent. It's just, would it happen in the next 8 to 10 weeks? The pressure on Italy, separation of, we could even see huge gaps across Italy. Another island like Sicily to be produced. Italy will break into another part, but in the center with a bigger part. This, we see it as what we are expecting. The earthquake in North African continent, and we've seen a very few in Central Africa in the past few months, confirms the push from the South American continent. And as it's getting pushed, it opens a space, and we've seen a 2 meter space left in New Zealand. We saw that Japan, and as you know, we are on a daily basis talking to Japan. The earthquake last week brought the whole of Tokyo to huge problems, and this will carry on. We've seen the earthquake creating a problem with the reactor 3 with the radiation, which was leaked for 2 days, and is now back up. And we'll see from what is happening is a full continental move. Is 3 continents moving together. This is the problem. All the Pangaea are involved in this shift, but 3 are literally physically moving, the others can absorb it. Australia can absorb it because it's floating. The whole, what we call Africa, Southern Asian continent are moving to accommodate the movement of South American continent. We'll see huge earthquakes in Gulf of Mexico. This especially is Mexico, the city is extremely now vulnerable, extremely vulnerable. The same thing we see in Los Angeles. Los Angeles is more or less gone. It's just waiting to see when. The process, the same sits with Japan. We will see huge earthquakes building up. The deep earthquakes shows total continental separation. The light left shows surface movement adjustment, and deep ones is a dangerous one, means the whole continent is moving from root. And we are looking in seismological shake inside magma, places where there is no physical matter, but the magnetic field pressure is building up. These will come through the sun rays. This will be created through the high level of, in a way, low level of the strength of the magma will absorb high level of energy to balance it up, and in the composition matter of the earth will get trapped and they have to be released, and these pressures of the releases will move the continents much more rapid. It's a combination of 3 or 4 elements. As I said in one of the teachings recently, when we see huge attraction of the magnetic field from the sun to us, it means there is a weakness inside, so it's trying to balance it. It's more or less, if you think of it, we are creating, because of the changes inside the magma, some flares towards the earth, and because we need it to create the balance, and that energy, when it's given, it has to go somewhere, it pushes the place out. It's just like boiling. You put the water on the heater, it absorbs so much energy and start getting bubbles, and whatever is in there, meat or beans or whatever, it just comes up. Now that is the pressure. We'll see it. I hope, as I said, we are wrong, but I warn again the American government. Move people out of West Coast drastically. Estimate losses is in telephone numbers. If it's done, and we hope we are wrong, but indication of the rapid shift in New Zealand confirms the left. Now it takes time. Maybe it takes under 3 months, 6 months. The push will come to Argentina and Los Angeles will go. I was explaining to an American guy, it's an old song, Back to the Dust. It is, we cannot change it, it's part of the evolution we are, and we'll see what happens. We cannot stop it. Philippines is in a huge danger. I have a lot of worries about our staff in Philippines. The same as with Tokyo. I was talking to our people just after the earthquake in Tokyo, and everything was shut down. Even they had to realign the railways, and they had to go back into university. Everything was shut down, all the emergency services. So emotional effect will be heavy, but we see a huge loss. Greece will go. This is for definite. Greece has moved plate, which was expected, and with it we'll see a huge landslides in the back of the Turkey by winter time. By winter time, pardon?
Josh, what do you think about Italy, and do you feel safe where you are in Italy? I know the earthquakes are
Italy, it'll go somewhere around Florence. We see the separation. The biggest problem with Italy is if the pressure builds up, the volcanic mountain in Napoli will definitely open up. We've seen 2 or 3 times moves on it in the past 2 months. Somehow the pressures are ending up in that area. It's building up in Sicily and in that coast, in that area. When you look at the aftershocks, you see they have concentration in that. It means they have absorbed the energy, and that energy has to be released. South of Italy, due to that volcanic eruption, will not be safe, but we have to see. Could be any time this year, next year, 2 years time, 10 years time. But there's a lot of pressure on it. But if you live in around Gibraltar, south of France, Spain, you will see huge amount of shakes. It has to happen because the whole place is, if you look at it, it's like a combination lock key. You're trying to open a safe. You have to trigger things till the last knock comes and you can open it. And this is all adjustments for all the pins to drop in. And once we see, I expect a 10 to 15 magnitude around Chile. If we see a further deep earthquakes, especially in magma. We have not ever understood that there are like bubbles which burst the movement of the field, which they come from the center to absorb the energy. In touching the what I call the bottom of the, what you call the solid continents, or that part is so rapid that they release the energy, they create it because they absorb it from the sun, and that creates the next movement. And somehow we see that coming up. It's the position of our solar system and the position of our sun in respect to its twin, what do you call it, system. It will pressurize. It's on the verge of pressure, but now is the clock is ticking. Japan is in horrendous danger. I see it. China, northeast coast of China, could be quite dangerous. I don't put much hope at all in any side of the California. It's just a matter of what we can salvage. We want Armand to move anywhere in California, just move out. It's not worth it. But it's the conditions. There will be huge earthquakes on west coast of Africa too. Now the way the things have moved in past few weeks, we start seeing earthquakes on Gambia down to Nigeria and coming down, because now the pressure is building up and it has to absorb the pressure. The weakest point is on the edges, which is Morocco, and we might see some earthquake in Tunisia. But I have warned the Iranian authorities and the Iranians who understand the procedure, leave Tehran. It's just about to go. Any other question?
This is John again, about deuterium. How can we detect or measure the deuterium in water so we can isolate it if we can to make heavier water?
It's very easy. You got to create the condition of the deuterium, you absorb it, and you know it's there. And its gans has a bluish tint to it, very, very greenish bluish tint, very slight blue.
Does it increase the brilliance of the water? Does it have a...
No, you will, when you see it, you understand it. It's like a bubble inside the gas. It's the way you see CO2. It's a specific. It's like a transparent blue.
Yes, I've seen this in the atomic center in Buenos Aires. What, about 50 years ago? You're right. It's a completely different light blue color.
Don't forget, I'm a nuclear physicist. I've seen a lot.
Yes, well, I've seen this in an atomic center in Buenos Aires, in Argentina.
It's one of the reasons. It's one of the reasons this planet is blue. It's the light, a very small amount of the deuterium, but in presence of the nitrogen, creates the blue structure we see. It's very much like when you make a diamond. You need a small dot for the whole diamond to be blue. And in the case of the gravitational magnetic field salt of this planet, deuterium comes blue.
I would like to add also, we've had in the last 15 days here in the center part of Argentina, we've had very strange earthquakes and pretty strong.
What is strange about it?
Zones which we normally don't have earthquakes, right in the center of Argentina, not right by the mountains between Chile and Argentina.
And you see a lot of it now?
In the last 15 days, we've had pretty 5 or 6 pretty big ones, over 4.5 and 5 on the scale.
You see, if you go back into before earthquakes lines 6, 6.2, 6.3 were creating a lot of damages. But now, because all the continents are moving, they're absorbing the shakes, so we don't see so much physical damage, even with 7.2s. This is the alarming part. We saw 7.2, 7.3 past 24 hours, 48 hours in Japan, exactly where Fukushima is, but we don't see huge damages because these earthquakes are coming from magma. The magma initiated, so this means all the continents are moving. The position is like putting the meat in the pot and pushing it. All the water inside the pot starts moving together and everything else moves. And this is the dangerous part. This is extremely dangerous. But this is another problem, because if the magnetic gravitational field of the Earth moves on the inertia side any further rapidly, it will change the direction of certain asteroids towards Earth. The ones which you're hoping to miss will hit. We should see huge, if this thing happens in the coming months, we should see a huge amount of, what do you call it, shooting stars. The ones which haven't seen before, or at least in the quantity. Because now the whole attraction field will change. As much as we'll reject some which are on course to us, we'll attract new ones. And then we get, when we see any earthquakes around 10.10, 9.5 to 10, 10.5, 11, we start seeing new shooting stars. Because this means the whole magma has changed, the gravitational field has changed, so now we attract new materials which then attract more, and there's a lot of them. They're all coming. A danger sits on the line of more or less, we're going north, southern Mexico, Brazil, central Brazil, Angola. In that part we see a lot of damages. If you don't have any other question, we call it a day. We are within the framework of our work.
Yeah, I think that's fair, Mr. Keshe.
Thank you very much. Thank you for today. We will go back on teaching, and we've been asked a lot of questions about the cancer. We have not set up, we're still waiting for the website to go up, and hopefully when it's done you can go through it. Those of you who have sent requests for cancer research, let us get, we are waiting for our permission. Once we have our permission, we go worldwide. We need a license to be able to do it on human trials, and it's just that there is some documentation needs to be added. Hopefully in the next few days it'll be done. In respect to space development, I have taught you enough today to see number of people moving in towards showing. I have to warn you about something. Those of you who start showing flights or showing power units, you get intimidated by the number of people and organization. Stay strong, get in touch with the Keshe Foundation. We protect you. We've done that with Alex, we've done it with a lot of Keshe Foundation supporters. The status quo is what they want to keep. So please, you achieve, go straight on the internet. Put it on. The more people they put on what you achieve, you'll find out other people bring their school of thoughts in. The harassment by a bunch of what I call pedophiles should not be the cause of change of humanity back to animal condition. You have a problem, you receive a threat, let us know. We know what they are doing in the background, but we don't talk about it because we have left it in the hand of people who know how to handle these things. We've got to be positive and move into the next step, and that's today's teaching. I hope I have given you a final link for all of you to understand. Convert literally. It's very much like converting millimeters to inches. It's the same thing, but different words and different amounts of it. from plasma to a matter state is the same, but you have to consider different strength to it. You all should be able to fly. Test the ball with a brick, with a mass, and just don't look at it as a physical, look at it as plasma interaction, and then you will be able to build your flight systems. Use the gas, you do the same. Use the coils, you do the same. Use the, what you call, the gaseous system, you will achieve the same. Anyone who understands what I said, try to fix that. Your doesn't matter how many balls you come, it doesn't go. Keep on changing the outside core. Don't touch the inside anymore. Till speed or a field will give you a lift. The first thing you see is the inner ball will lift from the bottom to the center. Then you will see creation of the empty center. Then you will see the total lift. If you come to the empty center but you don't see lift, add more to the outer core. Use combination of the GaNs, nanomaterial, even matter state. But don't change the center. Just change the parameters till you achieve lift. You will see the light, you will see the expansion of the fields, and you'll achieve lift. I'm sure those of you who already made a lot of these ping pong balls, double layers, and you tested it, now you understand what you got to do. Remember the gravitational magnetic field, the strength of the center, and just play with the outside or with the motor. You all fly. Thank you very much for today.
Thank you, Mr. Kesh. Thank you once again. Okay, that draws to a close the 147th Knowledge Seekers Workshop of the Kesh Foundation Spaceship Institute for Thursday, November 24th, 2016. And as always, thank you everybody for attending. Thanks to the people on the live stream and to others on the other channels that we're broadcasting on today. Okay, in the live stream. Knowledge Seekers Workshop of the Kesh Foundation Spaceship Institute. We're here once again with Mr. Kesh of the Kesh Foundation, and he'll be delivering today's information and knowledge on the plasma teaching. And we'll have various other knowledge seekers from around the world participating as well as things develop. And as you can see, we have a couple of new videos and as well as a new public teaching for gardeners and growers that is shown on the screen there now. So I think Mr. Kesh is ready in the background. I'm hoping that's true. Mr. Kesh, are you available?
Yes, can you hear me?
Seems a little weak, but let's get the audio dialed in. I'm not sure if it's on my system or how is it for others. Could you try it a bit there? Are you on the correct microphone? It seems kind of far away.
Yes. Oh, yeah. Now I know why. It's not connected.
Ah.
Okay. Let's get it connected. Can you hear me yet or now?
Not yet. Try again. Maybe you have to select it in your.
Yeah. Is it okay now?
Way better. Yes. Thank you.
Way better. Okay.
Yes.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Good morning to you as usual, whenever you listen to these teachings. As part of the development of the technology, we try to explain more and try to go more in depth. And we try today to explain some more technology and knowledge behind in depth of what the science stands for and what it is. We are targeting in one direction, and that is to try to achieve lift and motion. What we've done is that we have accelerated the work with the innovation team, and the same information I think is due to be given to the others that they can develop the technology. The reality with the space technology is understanding it and applying it in different ways and different form and shape. We try to do some teaching and then we come back to announcements of whatever it is, what needs to be done. This public teaching for gardeners and growers in English is set up by people who are part of the agricultural team. They participate, and we've seen work with them before with the growing of the lettuce and other things. Is Jim online that he would like to explain what this is about and how he wants to put it across, please?
Mr. Kesh, is Lisa here?
Hi, good morning, Your Excellency. How are you?
I'm very well, thank you. Yes, we're going to start on Sunday, and hopefully we can help all the people that at this stage are not involved in the private agricultural teachings. And so we hope to allow the general public to gain some knowledge on how to use the plasma with their growing and to help their environment around them.
What is the program? How are you planning out to do it?
Okay, each session is going to involve sort of 3 basic steps. We're going to do a bit of basic teaching, and then we will go on to some of our experiments and what we found. And then the last part of the teaching will be, a feedback and input from other people around the world and what they're doing, and how to help them to work with what we show. So each week we will do that, and we do have a basic syllabus that we've already decided on in terms of just each week a basic teaching on the vertical people, how the plasma interacts with the environment, how the vertical people use the plasma, and the general environmental plasmas and how we can use them to benefit the whole environment. If you would like a bit of an outline, I'm going to hand you over to Jimmy because he's given me something here in his handwriting and I can't read it. So just hold on 1 second.
Let me, while you're handing the paper, explain to those who are not familiar what is a vertical people. In plasma technology, we consider plants as a living, existing.
As a part of the application process, applicants who apply, including any translators brought into the workshop, will be required to sign the Keshe Foundation's World Peace Treaty, which can be found at the following web address. All applicants will be required to provide proof of their education and ability to practice medicine, and will also be required to pass an extensive security background check before they are granted access to the teaching workshop. Healthful plasma technology is here, now, the use of which is increasing exponentially on a day-to-day basis on every continent. We encourage you to come and learn about this revolutionary technology. Apply today. The Keshe Foundation is extending an invitation to experienced farmers, agricultural specialists, and researchers to apply to the Foundation's private weekly agriculture teaching workshops. If you fall into one of these categories and are interested in plasma technology integration into agriculture, you're invited to apply. Scientists and agricultural practitioners of the Keshe Foundation continually develop and apply new methods of food and fiber production, soil fertility management, plant and livestock health management, and increased farm productivity using the most advanced plasma technology that is taught at the Keshe Foundation Spaceship Institute. In the teaching workshop, you'll learn the science of plasma technology and its applications in the field of agriculture for enhanced and equitable global food production while minimizing costs and external inputs. Practicing farmers and Keshe Foundation scientists will demonstrate their application of plasma technology in agriculture and the ensuing results of such applications, thus deepening and enriching learning for all participants in the private teachings. Participants are encouraged to demonstrate their farming practices in the teaching workshop. The private teachings are broadcast in English live over the internet through a secure private channel every Wednesday at 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. Central European Time. If necessary, you may bring a translator to the workshop. All applications are required to provide proof of their education and professional qualifications, must pass a security background check, and are required to sign the Keshe Foundation's World Peace Treaty, which can be found at the following web address. Translators that attend must also pass a security check and sign the World Peace Treaty. For details on how to join the private teachings in agriculture, send an email to agriculture@kfssi.org stating that you'd like to participate. Include in the email your education and agricultural experience and reasons for your interest in plasma technology. Applicants will be contacted with further instructions and details on the application process. Are you ready for a cost-effective, successfully proven innovation in pain relief? You need wait no longer. Introducing the Keshe Pain Pad. Using plasma technology, which is based on magnetic gravitational field interaction, the Keshe Pain Pad emits plasma fields that penetrate up to 3 centimeters below the skin, helping to bring the body back to balance. The Keshe Pain Pad offers a natural way to relieve acute and chronic pain for both young and old. All you have to do is apply the pad on affected areas for 1 or 2 hours once or twice a day. It's made with adaptive elastics that can form organically and comfortably to the contours of your body. It has no moving parts or batteries. It's lightweight, durable, easy to wear, and easy to remove. The Keshe Pain Pad successfully reduces muscular pain, tendinitis, wrist pain, carpal tunnel syndrome, back pain, pain from sprains and strains, and knee pain, just to name a few. For a full list of relievable pains, consult the owner's manual or go to our website at www.keshefoundation.org. The Keshe Pain Pad, a cost-effective, successfully proven, natural way to relieve your pain.
Welcome everyone, excuse me, to the 147th
It's the 147th.
So you're going to give me a cue. You're going to start in a couple of minutes, like, or how are we doing there?
I'm just looking for Mr. Keshe to be able to promote him, but other than that, I think we can give it the minute or so.
Okay.
Okay, Rick, I see Mr. Cash, so let's go, and then we can start right after.
Okay, sounds good, Vince.
Cash Foundation is extending an invitation to medical doctors of any practice and specialty to apply to the Foundation's private weekly medical teaching workshop. This includes medical doctors, dentists, and veterinarians. Scientists of the Kesh Foundation developed different types of plasma therapies and cures that utilize advanced, non-invasive plasma technology. The weekly private medical teaching workshop educates doctors to the plasma science behind the therapies, along with the functionality and operation of revolutionary plasma medical devices. The goal of the private teachings is to add plasma health knowledge to the profound knowledge of medical doctors. The weekly class is broadcast live over the internet through a secure private channel every Wednesday from 2 to 5 p.m. Central European Time. Presently, the class is only offered in English. However, you are free to bring a translator to the class. If you can't participate in the live broadcast, you can watch them later at your convenience through a private internet portal. Every patient's case that is discussed in the workshop will be kept anonymous and private. This includes cataloged findings and data gained from the analysis of the patient's health issues. Any medical doctor in the world who wants to participate can do so by sending an email to doctors@spaceshipinstitute.org. In your email, please state your willingness to participate in the medical teaching workshop. If you're planning on bringing a translator to the workshop, please state this in your email as well. After we receive your email, we will contact you with the instructions on how to apply to the workshop.
Is there anything else, or are there any questions?
I presume you mean about this gardening part of
anything else, or anything else. Are there any questions? Anything new you want to show?
Mr. Kesh,
Yes.
I've got some updated photographs of those microradish.
Yes, please.
I can show that.
Okay, I'll stop my share, and you should be able to share your pictures.
All right, thank you.
Now, it's best not to show your desktop and just show the pictures, okay?
Can you give us a background to this for those who are not aware of this?
All right. the basis of the experiment was I took 2 batches of our radish seeds. These are daikon radish. And the one batch I soaked in plain water, and the other batch I had soaked in CO2 GANS water. And
is that after cutting or before cutting?
That's before cutting. I was soaking the seeds.
Ah, okay.
And the whole idea was to see whether there would be a comparison between the seed soaked in the water and the seed soaked in the plasma. So these were planted side by side. They grew together, and then we harvested them on the same day. Generally, when we cut them, they last about 12 days. Our shelf life that we give for the product is 7 days. And the last showing that we had given was on day 41. We had shown pictures of how the radish was still looking very good after 41 days in the fridge. And so I've got a few more updated photographs on how further they have lasted in the fridge. There was day 47. You can see photographs on the one on the left was the day 1, and photograph on the right is day 47. And then the
Are
2
they still edible at that stage?
At this stage, you could get away with them. I think I said the last time, if you put it in a sandwich, you could probably eat it and it'll be fine, because they didn't smell. There was no smell from them. So, and when you felt them, they were still fine. So, you could possibly have eaten them at this stage. There was on day 78, we'd start noticing some of the yellowing of the leaves, but they were still retained their shape. We had lost, I think, only 3 grams of weight at this stage from our first day. This was day 134. That had basically gone completely yellow with touches of green there, but still, say, retained their shape. On the next photo, you'll see when we took from the side, they hadn't squashed down on each other yet or started turning to water, into a puddle at the bottom. So at this stage, they were still looking very good, just only the color had changed. And then I took some photos the other day, and this is 180 days that they'd been in the fridge. At this stage, they had started degrading. You can see the yellow had come through. But you still see a little bit bits of green on some of them. And then in the next photo, from a side point of view, you can see how they had started sinking down to the bottom of the punnet. But now when we had opened them as well, there was also no smell. It was just a sort of a vegetation smell, but nothing that was rotting or any funny smells that were coming off it. So this was the other day. So that was nearly 6 months in the fridge. So it's quite incredible.
One of the things which we have to explain between the two is that the one which is with the water, even though has been in the water, from the time of cut has been next to the one which has CO2 on it. So in a real condition, the one with the water should be totally gone and smudged up in things which they work through the operation of what material exists on this planet. Instead of walking like the horizontal people, we call like animals, they move vertically, and that's why we call them vertical people, because they are actually living entity. They have emotion, they have feeling, they feed the same as we do into the plasma of the planet. And so if you heard about the vertical people, it doesn't mean people who are standing up, it means vegetation. That's what we consider them. Thank you very much. Go ahead, Jimmy, please.
Hello, Mr. Kesh. What we'll be doing over the course of the next couple of months is we'll just give a very basic overview and on how this plasma technology applies to agriculture and how people can start using it in their gardens, you know, whether it's for their roses or their little veggie patch. It's just to encourage people to sort of play with it in their gardens and in nature. And it's a way for people to get back in touch with nature. Then we'll start looking and doing a little bit on the seeds and how the rays, the magnetical rays coming to Earth interact and how these interact with the plants. We'll focus on the amino acids for the plants, how that works. We'll go into sort of the soil biology, photosynthesis. So these are sort of all the topics that we'll be covering over the next couple of months.
Can I ask you to introduce yourself, what you do? Let them people understand your involvement with agriculture, please, for those who don't know you.
We've started probably more than just over a year ago, following your teachings, and we do run a couple of years. We run an aquaponics farm where we grow lettuce and microgreen, microradish. So we've been using your technology and doing various experiments with that and trying to understand how all the plants work, really work with the new technology. So that's sort of been our background in agriculture over the last couple of years.
Before that, how long have you been in agriculture?
About 5 years.
Okay.
In agriculture.
So you will start teaching what you see the technology can be used
Yes.
in that sense.
Yes, you know, and it's a way for, we feel it's very important for people to start using their technology in their gardens and in their environment. You know, even if they live on, you know, in the city, they can have their balcony and they can have their pot plants. And it's a way to introduce people to the technology through using it on their plants and understanding how the plants really work and interacting with the plants.
Thank you very much. Is there anything else you want to add about the teachings?
No, that's it for now. Thanks.
Thank you very much indeed. You start on Saturday 27 at 7 p.m. Sydney, Australia time.
Yes, on the Sunday, yes.
Every second and every fourth Sunday of the month.
Yes.
Thank you very much indeed. The Zoom number is there. You can join in. The Zoom will be on the list of the Keshe Foundation Zoom teachings, public teachings, if you want to pick it up. Thank you very much indeed. Thanks, John.
Thanks for the opportunity.
Thank you very much. Thanks for teaching us. I enjoy listening to your teachings on the private teachings with agriculture. We have already implemented, or we are in the process of implementing, part of the finding from the teaching and the research of Jim, where we looked at the lifespan of the vegetation in GAN's environment, and very soon should be able to deliver what we call refrigeration units that you can put in the fridge and extends the life of food by quite considerable, maybe a few more days than usual. These things will be explained in the teaching by Jim, and you will learn a lot more. It's a huge amount of knowledge coming in. There are a large number of people who do agriculture, and if you want, you can join in this. And this is for the open public, so those who wanted to be in the private teaching as farmers, now you can join in the public teachings of the agriculture. Thank you very much, Jim.